Okay. I think we're live, and we have one of our strongest openers for Monday night. Cheers to everybody for being in here. Twice and easy. My name is Bruce, and this is Janet. The movie we're discussing tonight on A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie is a very great film from 1976 called Logan's Run. Janet, did you see this movie in theaters?
No, I didn't
Okay.
even see it until the late 80s. The first time I saw it. I think it might have even been, I think it was 88 or 89 when I saw it.
When I saw this movie first, it was on syndication, like one of those not primetime channels that always runs like the Godzilla movies in the afternoon. You know what I'm talking about?
Um,
Okay.
mm,
It was an independent station. Yeah, Cronus is like, wow, I was born that year. Yes, it is a older film, and it's kind of interesting because you've got some people that are in this that are they're they're older than they're supposed to be. This movie was supposed to be based on a book, and they didn't really base it on the book that much. They had an idea from the book, and in the book, the people are supposed to be able to live till they're 21, and then they get renewed or processed, or however you want to say. They're executed by the state to the applause of thousands, and that's about all that shares the book. In the movie, they range it to 30 years old. Both Michael York and Richard Jordan are both in their 30s when they're filming this.
mhm.
And Farrah Fawcett's just coming in at 29. I think Michael Anderson Jr. is in his early 30s as well. He's the doc that is playing the laser bed.
Yeah, he looked familiar, but I couldn't place him.
He was in some westerns back in the 60s and 70s.
He was a nice looking guy, and I was surprised when I was watching it in the opening credits when it said Farrah Fawcett Majors, and I was like, Farrah Fawcett's in this because
Yes.
I did not even remember her being in this movie, and I was surprised how much of the movie I didn't remember from when I did the first time.
Yeah, I saw this when I was
I
a
was really
young
shocked.
child. I saw this when I was 15. And they edited out the nudity. Damn you.
Yeah, that I
And
couldn't believe that you got to pretty much see her completely naked.
yeah, and I didn't realize that until I watched it yesterday. And I'm like, I've been watching the wrong version of Logan's Run all these years. Because I think I even burned a DVD off of an old VHS transfer. That does
Mhm.
not look good. So I destroyed the DVD years ago, and I just forgot about it. I'm like, oh wait, Hungar gave us $5 last week to review Logan's Run. I'm like, I'll do something for money, sure. $5 is $5, and
Yeah, it'd be worth buying this on
DVD.
DVD or a stick, you know what I mean, so that you can
Yeah,
watch it on your computer. Definitely, if you want the high quality uh, picture resolution and everything, I definitely recommend that.
Travis J, 1975. Um, Jenny Agutter is one of the most beautiful women Hollywood's ever had, and she was naked for this movie, and it's great.
The part, well, I won't talk about it until I guess we get to that part of it.
Okay, but and then Michael York, I've not seen him in a whole lot of other films. I don't recognize him. However, Francis, his friend, the other Sandman in this movie,
Hmm.
you recognize him, don't you?
He looked familiar, but I don't remember
Do
from
you
what.
remember Duncan MacLeod from the original Dune?
I think maybe that's him. The
Yep,
same guy?
same guy.
Hmm.
Kept
I
his
would
he
not
kept
have thought that.
he kept his
That's just
motion.
like when we saw the movie, the Excalibur, when I realized that was Liam Neeson in it. Later on, I was like shocked because I didn't even remember him being in it. So no, he looked familiar, but I didn't remember. Now the guy that played Logan, I remembered seeing a movie that my mom loved because it had some big actor in it, and it was him when it was an animal. He had an island with animals that were part people, part animals, or something. I can't remember. My mom really liked that movie because she liked the Dr. Monroe or whatever, the actor that played.
The Island of Dr. Morio.
Yeah, Mario, whatever. But the actor that played that guy,
Yes.
my mom really liked his movies, so that's why I remember I went. I got to watch it with my mom, and that's why I recognized the actor that played Logan.
Kronos, it wasn't the one with Val Kilmer. It's not the one with Val Kilmer. That one there, only watch that when you have enough potentially to drink with. It's not a bad movie. It's just not a good movie. It's kind of like watching Pacific Rim Uprising or The Cowboy Way.
Yeah. Mm. Well,
So
my hormones are what made me watch The Cowboy Way the first time.
it happens.
So my view of it was way different than it was after I got to see it as a woman.
Yeah. This is the original novel artwork back in the 70s for Logan's Run. And I just want to say that if Logan's Run had not been followed the following year by a certain George Lucas film, our view of science fiction movies could be a lot different because this movie is not a happy film. This is a horribly depressing movie. It's wonderful to watch, but it's a good time machine to go back into the 70s, and there's a lot of 70s dystopian sci-fi before 1977. I'm just going to say that. But this movie did a really good job of capturing the feel of the book. It didn't follow the book. And that's okay because this movie stands on its own.
No, I never read the books.
I read
So
the book years ago when I discovered Philip Jose Farmer. And if you know anything about science fiction, Philip Jose Farmer is one of the best sci-fi authors out there. But he when you're reading through that, you could slip Logan's Run into the Daywalker series, and it would feel like you're not really doing a whole lot. We have the chat blowing up a little bit about how the movie's rewatchable, and there's a lot more in the film that was lost because they had cut scenes and there was edits, and they had a lot of problems because this movie it wasn't really well received by brass, which is a shame. So just for those of you that are not aware of Logan's Run and you've mistakenly made your way into this auditorium with us and our friends in the chat, Logan's Run is a really interesting film where you're living in a world where everybody gets a little crystal in their hand at birth, and you're connected to the city.
It's like a timer. It's like a timer from the day they were born. It keeps track of how long they've been deployed in this little city because everything's regulated. And you don't realize how much regulation there really was until you get to see what the Sandman do when they turn in their loot and they're like debriefed, and then they make it to the lower levels and start finding out how over time things have deteriorated and things aren't going as smoothly as they thought up above because they didn't know that anything else was going on, which was, to me, was good layers added to the story. Even though I didn't read the book. I mean, that's what I took from the movie.
the movie does a very good job of setting up this world. They filmed it in malls, and they had a lot of different sets to where they could make it look like they were in a sustainable environment. You had the little air cars and little tram tubes.
Yeah, the tubes were really cool.
Yes,
When I first started watching it, the first thing I thought in my head was how I bet you just got a real kick out of the models they used.
I did.
Because when I was a little girl, I think I've told people a few times on the different live streams we've talked about that my dad was really into doing the little trains, the Lionel trains, and helping him build the little sets with you take that, it looks like wood shavings of green wood, and then you glue that down for the grass and then the little trees and the little stuff, and you put your head just a little bit above the level of the table when you're looking at it as a little kid, and it's almost like you wished you could walk around on it, because it was so cool looking. It's like stepping into another era of time, like the kind of effect that we had a little bit of when we got to watch Beetlejuice, when Beetlejuice was on the little fake graveyard scene or whatever in part of the movie, and he's in the little model. I don't know, I just really enjoyed those scenes way more than I remembered enjoying them the first time I watched it, because it was very nostalgic for me, those parts. And it didn't look, as real as, CGI would, but the details that they went into to make that look like that and have it moving with the lights and the water movement, everything about it. I just loved it. This was very nostalgic for me. Made me think of you and you building your models and stuff. And I thought, wow, how cool would that be to have something like that for DD?
That would, the dream.
That's fun.
Yeah. To have an entire 3-car garage with no cars in it, just one long expansive table. Oh, our sponsors have made it in.
Uh-oh. Again. Good grief. They just love us.
Somebody got them. 6 Nation 31 Kings or other mods. I appreciate that. You guys, wow, you guys were fast.
I wasn't fast enough. I could get it.
You're good. You're good.
I'm slow.
Apparently they posted 3 times, and that was cute. Let me go in the editing of our stream here. No offense to my new viewers here, but I've gotta set the timer. So,
has anybody ever followed one of the links on these things to see what you actually get on the other end?
I would like to know.
I mean, I'm really curious because they sure like us.
Not really. They really don't give us. They don't give us as much love as I've seen them give others, and I appreciate the attention, but I've got to say that like these people, they are sad. They really are. Like, not into it. Okay.
But yeah, the opening scene where you see Logan looking through the window of the nursery, and they've got the 2 babies laying side by side, and you see the little white crystal in the baby's hand, and he's talking about it being going to be a Sandman. I just thought that was really good.
That was kind of neat because it shows you that they are processing. They're like figuring out, okay, we want the matter from this specimen over here, and so they've kind of got a planned idea of how we want to breed the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you meet Jenny because Virginia Gutter, who is playing Jessica 5,
Yeah.
and she's adorable. But then you find out that the way he got her was he was selecting through preferences for company tonight, and she put herself on the circuit to be given kind of like chatterbait, but not in a happy way. because she was not in the mindset to be a John for the evening.
Yeah, it's because it's like a cross between like a teleporter and a computer dating. And they hardly, the women, I mean, the guys seem like they dress, especially the Sandmen, they were completely dressed, had shoes, real shoes,
Real shoes.
belt, with their weapon and their communicators and things on it. And they had long sleeves and, so they seemed like they wouldn't be cold, even though they never went outside either.
Yeah.
But all the women were just pretty much wearing nothing but a real thin like material like this, very silky taffeta type thing with a little belt, that holds their boobies up, because none of them were wearing bras. That was one thing I noticed a lot when I was watching the women running around and jumping and frolicking around in the place. I was like, Jesus, I wouldn't have been able to survive. I've been running around with holding my boobs up all day, because when you got double D's, it's I just don't see how, even if you died at 30, it would not be very comfortable for the women that had big boobs.
They made bras like old age. It was outlawed. No.
Yeah, it looked like any woman on that show had a bra on. At least I didn't notice. The belts were the ones with the belts. Like I have my belt on right now. See, I have it right under my boobs. It's like holding it up. Thank goodness. But you wouldn't look too good after 50 years old in the future if you were all running around braless. That's why Native women have the boobs they have. Wow. Hey, I could say that. I'm a woman. So, but the outfits were very risque. And the one that she had on when he served up the teleprompter, he was like going, And then it was funny to me, though, the very first thing that tunes in is a man. And he's like, raises his eyebrow. I was like, nah, he turned the channel. I thought that whole concept was really cool. Wouldn't you think that would be? Since there was no marriage, apparently nobody married.
Yeah, it was just for like a nightly contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of is an interesting deal. I mean, you just kind of put yourself, all right, let's see what Chatterbait gives me. Female, preferably 6 foot over, and brunettes if possible, if not redheads. I'm not someone with blondes. And sorry, Tom, your choice has not been available for the past 3 days. We do have a slick glove for your hand, though.
But when you look down over the people when they were getting ready to go into carousel, it looked like there was a really big variety of, dark hair, different shades of dark hair, redheads, short hair, long hair, blondes, brunettes. It looked like it was a variety, a big variety. But one variety that I happened to notice I did not see, there was quite a few not certain races. If you looked at that, did you happen to notice?
I noticed that the minorities were not really there that much.
Very slim margin.
I don't know if that was a reflection of the mindset of the 70s.
I don't know. I remember watching lots of movies that my mom had that seemed like it had lots of variety of people. So I just didn't know if it was meant to be that way in this dystopian type of environment or what,
Roscoe Lee Brown played the role of Box, and so he was kind of dressed up in that all silver outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know Roscoe Lee Brown, I'll pull up a photo of him here in a minute, but he's, I think, basically the only minority in the entire cast here. I didn't see a whole lot of them displayed fervently at all. It looked like it was just Western Europe. And that was Western Europe in 1960s.
And that was the other thing too. When I first started watching it, I noticed that the two leads, which was
Jordan and Michael York.
Yeah, Michael York and Jenny Auger were both British, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when they finally made it out and saw the city and stuff, and it happened to be in America, I was a little bit surprised because I couldn't really remember. I forgot a whole bunch of things that happened in it, and I remember seeing the one statue in the building. So I guess it would have to be Washington D.C., which was interesting in itself. The choice of the city they chose to have, nearby once they were able to go outside. But I just thought that was interesting because you don't really even think about it when you're watching something if they don't have the accents. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like Hugh Jackman is really good at covering his Australian accent when he's in movies and stuff, even and singing and dancing on Broadway, compared to what he sounds like when he's just casually doing an interview. So I don't know. I just was surprised that it was a few things that surprised me watching it again, because it's been such a long time since I saw it, even though I've seen it more than one time. It was just, I was surprised how much I didn't remember. But there was a good variety. So whatever the laboratory supposedly was doing to harvest, I guess maybe the women, I guess, when they would go in for their checkups or whatever, it didn't really go into details. That's when they would harvest eggs or whatever to keep the
strains going.
Yeah, well, because they'd have to have samples from the men and the women unless they were clones. And I thought maybe they could be clones.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Sorry.
Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
Oh, God, I'll have to turn her off. I was trying to understand whether or not they were harvesting eggs and sperm from them, or they were clones. And when they had names like Jessica, what was it? Jessica 5?
5.
Then she was the 5th one of her. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but they might have just been naming them those names to make them think that they were renewed in the past, you see, by using the numbers after their names too. So in a way, it was a government, way of getting them to not fight, to go out there and sacrifice themselves and be electrocuted or turned into dust or whatever it was that they were doing to them with the lasers, or they really were clones and that's the numbers they were given. So I don't know. I mean, because I didn't read the book. What do you think about the names? Do you think
The book kind of echoes the book. They have the same kind of idea there, where you have Jessica 5 or Tommy 6, or they don't. I don't remember any 3s, 2s, or 1s in the book. So I would definitely say there's a definite point where the generations are cutting out. But you have in the book, you have some really good ideas about how things are going. But the way the characters rationalize things, it doesn't make sense for the characters to be 21 or younger. I remember being 21, and I know what it was like to be around college 21-year-olds and around military 21-year-olds and around civilian 21-year-olds of all cultures and of all origins. And I can tell you that the nightly routine that people have in a city where they're just consumers and they're watching the carousel thing go on, and they do other things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that being a 21 centric lifestyle. I can see that. I cannot see for the life of me the thought processes being echoed from the book. Now, a 30-year-old man, I could see where they're making those decisions. They're making those jumps in logic. I can see that. But I was having a hard time with it as I thought about it over and over again before tonight's show, because of the gaps between the book and the movie. There's another movie that this movie really inspired, and we'll talk about that later. But it's important to note that if you haven't seen Logan's Run yet, again, watch it. If you need a link to it, contact me. I'll help you out. I want you to be able to view this film because it is a piece of American cinema that does show you what a society that's currently in fear-mongering about climate change and fossil fuel fear factor, which is what the media is doing now. It's what produced the mindset to where people thought that they would need to have a sustainable environment reflected like this.
Yeah, and one of the things that I didn't remember was when the person would go to Carousel, okay, and they were saying that Gemini, that means I would take that would be the month they were born. Like what was it? Is it May or something? I don't remember exactly what the different things for the zodiac, but so basically, when your birth date came and you were to be 30, your time chip in your hand or whatever would start to blink and then turn red, and it was your turn to go and be renewed or whatever it is that they thought that was going to happen to them. But I just thought all of that was interesting, except the fact that when they said they were 30, because to me, the characters the three major characters they had in there, to me, looked very, very close to 30 anyways, and they didn't seem bothered that within a year or so they were going to be, gone. So I was thinking that when, before they said the date or how old they were going to be when you were zapped or whatever, I thought it was going to be like 40, so to me that would have been more believable, because then I started thinking it's just like the movie Grease. Grease was supposed to be a bunch of teenagers in high school, and you could clearly tell that all the actors were in their late 20s and in their 30s. So either they just didn't think the younger actors could portray the characters believably, or they just couldn't find anyone that was a decent actor that young to portray the characters for these, this movie. But I was just surprised because that right there, I would have done differently. Like in Dune, the young male that ends up becoming is that Quadrack or whatever, have you pronounce that? Was it a teenage boy, not in his 20s and 30s. So I guess it would just depend on what you're able to look at and what you would feel from it. But I still thought they all did an excellent job. And the way that they did the whole dial your own, sex appeal for the night, type of stuff. And the futuristic way that the apartment looked. I don't know. I thought the overall look, the color scheme, everything to me looked like it could be an environment that's it was very sanitary and clean. Didn't have a lot of clutter. It was very lean. It was I really didn't really see anyone really eat anything. I saw people drinking things and people.
They were drinkers, not eaters.
Well, yeah, they drank a lot, but I meant because they were definitely, and I didn't see any heavy people. So everything, their diet, you could tell that the whoever set up the whole utopian, city had controlled what their dietary intake would be, and that they were just basically playing all day long. I mean, they had jobs. You could tell they had jobs because the place had to be run, because you had the people that would fly down and pick up the dead bodies, or take care of the dead bodies, and then you had the sandmen, the people that were running the one place they went in. I don't know if she called it an arcade or whatever, but they went in and they started having these euphoric feelings, and they were, everybody was having orgies, and there was a lot of boobies and, stuff in that one scene, but it looked like a really fun place to go visit. If I was going to go on a vacation, that would be a fun place to go, I think, for
I agree.
somebody that just wanted to have some fun and not have to worry about, going home and having to deal with the consequences afterward or something.
The,
I thought it was
the
awesome.
the neat thing about the film is that you have a you have that sanitary look that you're hitting on right now,
Hmm.
and then you have the Sandmen, which they're kind of like your not border patrol, but your elder patrol, and they chase down these runners, and they do a very good job of it. The tool they use, it was neat because they show a runner get shot off of a high mall balcony, and it looks like a high mall balcony,
Hmm.
like they're at the Galleria or something, and he just tumbles, and he hits the ground, and they say, "Oh, you got him." He's like, "Well, you keep missing." I didn't notice that the guys went to stormtrooper school for shooting. They
Yeah.
were not accurate at all.
Yeah, it looked more like they toyed with the people they were chasing. They enjoyed, run, and then shoot around him because they were just trying to scare him because it was fun. They didn't get to do it very often, and you could tell that they tried to. Like a few of the guys made the comments to what was his Francis? Is that what his name was?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when they met, well, yeah, we know how much you like to have a good run, So he was definitely somebody that would go up there any chance he could into the central command or whatever, so he could, chase runners because it was exciting to him to do that. He liked the hunt or whatever. And you got to remember, they didn't have anything else. It was either sex or food. It didn't really look like there was much to do besides, intermingle and, sit in the hot tub or, it was all leisure. It looked like almost the whole thing was nothing but leisurely. Um, you
They
know,
they, they look like they had the duties and responsibilities of the maidens who worked at the grail shaped or at the monastery with the grail shaped beacon.
mhm.
You remember that from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where
No.
Lancelot sees this beacon and he sees, oh my God, it's the Grail. I must go to it. And then he gets in there and it's a monastery.
Mhm.
And he has all these women who are swooning over him. Oh my God, it's a knight. It's a knight. Oh, let us help you remove the armor. And they're trying to take off his armor. He's like, what do you do here? Oh, we bathe, then we fold laundry, then we bathe again, and then we sleep, and then we pray, and then we bathe, and then we fold laundry. And they're like, ooh, let's have a pillow fight, and there'll be spanking. And all the other girls start doing the same thing. And they're all trying to get Lancelot out of the armor because there's some very angry, pent up women that are wanting this man. And it just felt like this entire movie was just an extended scene forwarded in time where every man was Lancelot, lancing a lot.
Mhm. Lansing.
And
Well, when Francis showed up at Logan's apartment and came in with the two girls, uh, it seemed natural, and that the women were ready to have a good time, So I guess they were all not able to get pregnant, or none of them did, apparently. And but there were little things that I wish they'd been able to fill in a little more, like when they went and the children were there and they called them the beasts, or the I can't remember what, the cubs, the
oh,
cubs.
yes.
Okay, so what was funny for me is I had like two things of deja vu watching that actual scene when all the teenagers and the preteens and stuff were sliding down the poles and coming in with sticks and little handmade shivs and things like that. And then the little girl that was all dirty that was liking her.
Married to, and had all the young boys.
Yeah, it reminded me of an episode, one of the episodes where on Star Trek, where they went and then the kids were the only ones left alive because as soon as the parents got to a certain age, they were dying.
They were getting the virus. They had little patches on their skin. They marred up. They marred up Grace Lee, Janice Rand. They made her leg have a little patch on it. I was so upset. I liked her character even before I had my puberty. That was like one of my favorite characters in Star Trek. She was adorable.
But that whole scene to me made me feel that you could definitely tell it was in the same era that Star Trek was made. So then that pulled me back to that it was in the 70s instead of being in the future again. So there were some scenes when I was watching it, I really felt like it could be in the future. And then other scenes pulled me back because they were reminiscent of old TV shows that I remember, like Star Trek that I used to watch with my dad. I watched reruns with my dad, and that's how I got into really loving Star Trek. So that would pull me out of, the actual movie because of that, the deja vu stuff. But it was still really good. It just that little things like that, just, I don't know why, it just, I guess because you're older and you've had so many other experiences that it makes you think of other things, because the feelings start coming up about, the sensations that you felt or you think about when you see certain things happening and unfolding in front of you. So, but I still thought it was really good. I thought they did a really good job. And the way the control center when where the Sandmen were at, the way that it was set up, to me, it looked like inside of like a captain's ship. Have you ever been in a cruise ship? Have you ever gotten to go into the cruise ship, the captain's area where the captain is running the ship? Yeah, on the bridge. That's it. That's what it looked like to me. The way the window was tilting, in towards the guy sitting, in the way there was just offset just enough so that it was almost curved, like the windows were curved. So even though it was a monitor and you saw things blinking lights and stuff leading up to whatever, instead of video that you would think that they would have in the future, it was just interesting the way they did it. And it probably cost a lot of money back then, even though when it said 9 million, but I guess 9 million was a lot of money back when that was made.
The original budget for it was supposed to be 3. And they were having trouble. And they had to have new reshoots, and they had to have some script rewrites because it's too close to the book. And we're not a bunch of science fiction book reading nerds. We're trying to sell movie tickets, kid. And so they were having this problem again and again. And so they just, they kind of threw their hands up in the air at the very end. And you can kind of see that because they kind of abandoned trying to hold towards this mindset of we've got to show the dystopianness, we've got to show the fight against the fossil fuels, and we're a sustainable society. And when they embrace Peter Ustinov, the old man, when they meet up with him, the entire tone of the movie changes. It's like watching little kids meet their grandfather for the first time, because that's essentially what we're watching. We're seeing somebody,
because they're very inquisitive about just everything. I mean, when they see from a distance and they see the buildings and stuff, and they know that it was an old city, but they don't understand why it's out in the open. And the first time that they see the sun when it's rising, I thought that was a really good way of showing if you took a group of people and you closed them off and put them underground, and they, 3 generations later, there's a hole that opens up and they all start going outside and wondering what is all this. They'd be afraid. They'd get sunburns and all kinds of, yeah. It's just, I just thought it was the concept of it was really very intriguing. And it couldn't have been a long, long time because I still saw cars, they weren't completely rusted out to nothing. So it wasn't hundreds of years, you know what I mean, over that amount of time.
Yeah, go ahead.
The one thing I didn't remember too that made me start going, what? That's how it happened, was when Logan went in and he took his handful of stuff that he had taken from the runner and put in there, and then the computer was like wanting to ask him questions about the Ankh, okay, and what he understood about it, and if he knew what sanctuary was because of the Ankh that he had found, okay, and which it could have been just as easily have been Francis that had gotten it. So that whole part of the story for the character arcs for those two characters was, to me, were very, very intriguing, because it could have been either one reversed, and the other one would have hunted the other, because that's just what they did.
That's what you do. You're a Sandman.
But they were close friends.
Yeah,
but they were close friends, and they had that camaraderie. So in a way, they did give each other leeway more than they would have another person that they'd interacted with. So I thought that whole concept too, showing that even though they were in this utopian city, and they were born and raised that way to live a certain way, that they spent enough time together to become like brothers almost.
And they basically were, because you get the idea that they've worked with each other for a while, and maybe all of their time post puberty, or maybe as Sandman, if the movie's like the book, the Sandmen are kind of segmented off from other people because they're grown up with, you are going to be the lawgivers. You're going to be the enforcers, and everybody's got their place. Everybody has their spot in life. You make sure the shoes fit all the women. You make sure that these tailored blouses go over the breast in just a perfect manner to where people can consume and debauch and have as much fun as possible. Don't make anything that might be considered like a fully enclosed blouse. No.
Well, it didn't look like they had many fights or anyone stealing or attacking each other, or riots or any type of crime, because everything was available to everyone. I mean, it looked like everyone had access to plenty to eat, bathing, nice clothes, a nice place to live. So they did try to make it look like it was even for everyone, that everyone had equal care for each other, or were treated equally in their environment, except once the whole thing came out that the computer decided for him, because it figured that Logan was the one, since he was confronted and had found the Ankh, that he needed to go out and get rid of. This was the computer's chance to basically send one of its own, the only ones that he would trust, in the environment that they were in, to send it out to try to find out where sanctuary was and take those people out. Because they didn't know, the computer didn't realize that the ones who have escaped, that they thought had gotten out, weren't really out, because they were frozen and made into soon to be food to feed the masses. Okay. And that's because there was a breakdown between the lower levels that used to provide as it went up. But as time went by, it slowly, the computers and stuff took over things and made it like time management wise, it made everything more efficient. So it slowly just cut off things it didn't need anymore. And by doing that, that computer robot character that had an objective of what it was supposed to do was to collect the food and stuff that came in, freeze it, and have it ready to transport up see the other levels, right? To keep people fed with fish and plankton and the other things that he was talking about. So when he no longer had that and nothing was coming in anymore, his job was, well, when the person would sneak by thinking they were going to go find sanctuary, he would zap them with the freezer and put them in the frozen food section, because it had a job to do, but it no longer, the computers from above no longer used them anymore because it was outdated. See, so it was moving along and keeping up with the times, but the lower sections were no longer in use. That's why when they went down to the lower part where they were using the fisheries, to raise the fish and stuff like that, to keep people that, like you and I would do if we were going to make a safe place for us to go to make sure we had all the foods and things that we needed, we would have wanted some type of hatchery and a hydroponics thing to grow the greens, that kind of stuff, sustain us with healthy food so that we would be able to stay underground a certain amount of time, whatever, if there was nuclear fallout. I mean, that's just a normal thought process. But when that's no longer needed and there's no maintenance workers going down there to make sure that the valves are tight or greased up and stuff. So, the valves are leaking and stuff. So when you saw them walking around down there, water's leaking from the different areas and stuff because it's slowly rotting. Basically, it's going to end up caving in on itself anyways. And that gave you the actual underbelly of what would happen if computers did take over, that basically it would try to run it as efficiently as possible because we were really not important. You know what I mean? The people were no longer the number one reason why they were keeping it. It was basically to keep the place running smoothly. And that's what the computer's job was, to keep it going. At least that's what I got from it. And I don't know if that's what everybody else saw from it.
Well, this movie, I want to just dial back real quick. They have that runner. They shoot off the balcony of that 4th floor or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And Francis goes and positions his limbs to where he's just kind of still with his wrist by his sides and his ankles are together.
Well, that was Logan.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, here comes the other Sandmen, the cleanup crew. And they come down these little hover platforms, and it's spewing on this mist all over the corpse. Mm-hmm. And holy cow, that's cool, because that mist is a super enzyme that breaks down the body and no mess. It breaks it down right in front of you, and there's 6 or 7 stages where
it's like microbes that are ingesting.
Yeah.
Like bacteria eating it all up.
And they don't even have to take a broom across it afterwards. It's just nice and shiny floor after that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, I remember watching this when I was a kid. I'm like, I remember that. That spawned a lot of thought process. That would be cool if we could just do that. We don't want the corpses to stack up in the streets after a war or something. We could just
Well, see, that's another reason why later on when they see the headstones, they don't know what it means. They don't know what that is. They've never seen anyone buried, and they've never really seen anyone die because the cleaners come cleaning up the mess. No one sees the dead bodies. Very few, except for the cleaners, and maybe a few of the Sandmen even know what death is, So the people are left like childlike state because they don't have to deal with anything. They don't have to deal with the sadness of their friend dying or whatever. And they didn't make it so you could see whether or not someone had a heart attack in front of someone else or, things like that, where they would have a normal, 2 people are going at it and one of them has a stroke or something, So they didn't really give us that aspect of any of the people being able to see those things, like how upset Farrah Fawcett's character was when the laser machine ended up cutting up her doctor friend, and he died in front of her, and she was in a state of shock. So all she did was run to try to get where the sanctuary people were at. And when she saw the other two, she saw them and remembered they were the reason why everything bad started happening. And she didn't really know how to absorb the information because they're all kept on an even, like they don't have chaos in their lives, basically.
They
So
don't
the
have
only
a
ones that
current,
dealt with
like
chaos
here.
were the Sandmen. Basically, they're the only ones that dealt with that type of tragedies, on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because wasn't there like a carousel pretty much every night?
Every night.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. So.
They meet Ustinov, and he's kind of rooming in the U.S. Senate building.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got all those desks around, and he has 31 cats. He's got a lot of cats. Each cat has 3 or 4 names.
And they were all grown too. That's another thing that I thought was interesting. There wasn't kittens running around. It was just grown cats, which I thought was interesting.
Ustinov plays this character, and he's made to look more older than what he is. He's in his 50s here.
Mm-hmm.
But he's made to look like he's about 10 or 12 years older than what he really is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just wholesome watching him interact with Jessica 5, and he's trying to explain to her beloved husband, beloved wife, this is what we do, and we bury people. And then he gets them to agree after he helps bury Francis.
Mm-hmm.
He gets them to agree to bury him when his time is over. And he's happy. He's seeing people for the first time, and he has a hard time remembering what the word is for his father. He's thought about his mom a lot, but father.
Well, yeah, and I took from that. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I took from that the fact that his mother died after the dad, and that she was the last one to die, and was the last person that he spoke to was his mother. Besides, the cats that he would talk to, but he was just happy to have someone to have, communication with, because he'd been alone for, we don't know how many years, but it seemed like, years that his mother had passed away, and he was alone. So, you couldn't help but love this guy. I mean, he was childlike in a way on his own, because he'd never had a woman, you got to think about it. There was no woman, because he said that his mom talked about other people that had come through or they'd see or whatever, but that was it. So somewhere out there, maybe there were other people, because it didn't look like there was really any predators or anything. I every so often it sounded like I heard birds, in the background, but and then you had the cats, but never heard a dog bark, so we don't know. We didn't see enough to see what kind of animals were left. We don't even know what happened to cause the people to go underground, for sure.
They give you an idea in the book, and they follow it pretty closely in the movie, that they've had a series of conflicts, and the energy crisis causes them to build geodesic domes, and the population is now very much regulated. And this is a society we have, and you just have to deal with it. This is what we have. You just enjoy it. Just eat it. And the thing about the Sandmen, also, you're talking about that control tower where they're at. Mm-hmm. Did you look at the other Sandmen that were there? Did any of them look like they were 45 or 50 to you? Because that's what I caught. There was a couple of guys that looked like they were getting up in years.
Well, to me, the only one to me that looked older than all the other people that I remember seeing in the movie was the woman in red that they had chased into the place where the children were at, into the cubs or whatever, and Francis had followed them. Now, when she was saying, I'm only 20 something, I don't remember, 29 or something, I don't remember what she said. I was like, well, she definitely isn't in her 20s. I could tell by the way she looked. So if you could go back and look at who that actress was, she probably was
Laura Lindsay.
a relative to one of the producers or something, and they gave her a part in the movie. I don't
Yep.
know if that's true, but I saw that
Yep.
happen a lot.
Yes.
And they didn't necessarily fit where they were supposed to be put in, or where they just poked them in. But I would probably pretty much say that's how that person got the part in that scene.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
it was
like,
okay though, but that's why I said 40 would have been more believable instead of 30.
yeah, I can see that.
I mean, for that type of movie. 46 is the new 30.
Yeah. I love having Kronos in here because, like, I haven't seen him in about a year plus, and like I was catching up with him a little bit today, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm in your chat. I'm waiting." I'm like, "Cool." And then I started, and then we had our sponsors showed up, and I banned people from talking if you hadn't been subscribed for 5 hours. Didn't mean to do that to Kronos. Good guy, real good man. He says,
Yeah,
"I'm not
we
a
have to
special
get
on the troll." So
sex
all of the
bots.
patrol, dude. And I'm like, nah, I want this guy as a mod in my chat room. I want him talking with people, and I want him to be able to interact because he's funny, he's good. So we're gonna go over to Miss Laura Lindsay. This is her, and she is probably about 30 right there.
Mhm.
She's not a very old woman, but she's like 35, 40. And
Well, who is she? I mean, what's her name again?
Lara Lindsay. She was literally the wife of somebody important for this film, and so
Oh,
they gave her a job as being like best girl or catering specialist or some low on the totem pole. But we're gonna have you here for 8 hours so you can have a job and a paycheck. And then somebody's like, "Hey, she's kind of hot. Put her on camera. She's good." And so they have her on camera, and she gets shot by Richard Jordan Francis,
yeah.
and that's essentially what happens. And she just, she got her 15 minutes of fame with this. She was in Boston Strangler, a few other films, but she married somebody that was somewhere kind of high up in the
Yeah, he
hierarchy.
probably worked in one of the production companies or something. But see, that's how the
She's
actress
important with
that played
Paramount.
the computer voice
Yeah,
and
that was
stuff in
Laura
Star
Lindsay
Trek.
is the computer voice.
Yeah.
That girl's
So
computer voice.
his wife was given lots of parts in the TV show Star Trek, and she was in Second Generation and stuff too.
Michael Barrett.
Yeah, and she wasn't necessarily the best actress or the best looking woman, but
Mm-mm.
but
If you're
that
having sex with
happens a lot.
Roddenberry,
Hmm.
come on, let's just say if you're having sex with Roddenberry, you're not going to be out of a job. You're not going to be out of. You're going to have your own money to buy your own
Well,
shit.
it just happens a lot. People don't realize it's probably almost in every single TV show, movie, commercial, or something. There's somebody's girlfriend or something. I remember going in one time, and there was 3 or 4 of us because it was for a movie, and they had said I was picked to play a drunk at a bar, and a crazy drunk or whatever. And I was sitting there dressed to play the drunk. And then I remember the director coming in, and it was only us 3 actors that were going to be in the scene. And I see him pointing at me, and I think it's me. And I said, "Oh, I think one of us is out. I think he doesn't like one of us or something." And there was a cute little adorable waitress, the girl that was going to be the waitress. And she had a real short haircut, and she was all dressed in her little tight little waitress outfit and all cute and everything. And he walked, the assistant director walked over to her and said, "Okay, well, he wants her to be the waitress." And I went, "Me?" Like that. And they go, "Yeah, we want you to be the waitress." And I'm like, "I can't wear that outfit." And and I got picked to be the waitress for this one scene in this movie. And I thought that was great. And it took all day to film that one scene, but he said, "Don't worry about the outfit. We'll take care of it," or whatever. The director, was really nice and everything. But
Fix it in post.
when I asked him, about it later. The assistant director, he said, well, a director can come in and say, I don't want this person, even though they were hired to be whatever part. Their voice reminds me of my ex-wife. I don't like them. Get them off the set. So, I mean, that's how simple it is. If a director doesn't like the way you look or the way your hair is laying or your voice, you're gone. So the director always wins. So it doesn't matter if you're good or bad, or even if you got your check, you still get paid. You just aren't going to be in that movie.
Yeah, you're going to get your paycheck. Thanks for being here, but you're not going to be viewed.
Yeah, so it's just funny how that kind of works. But that's why I said that when that one person was in that scene, it just didn't seem like it just didn't flow very well. I mean, I don't know. That was the one thing that stuck out to me like a sore thumb, was that one person, that one character.
The Lara Lindsay character?
Yeah, the woman that was telling them, I don't know why my hand's blinking because I'm only 29 or whatever it was that she said she was. And I was like, well, I didn't think she was that good of an actress, but I just didn't think she looked young enough to be under 30. To me, she looked over 30 years old, even though she was really pretty, but
you can be really pretty.
It wasn't believable to me.
Okay, people can hold their beauty for a long time, and I'm going to just say Sophia Loren, and that gives me hope for
Raquel Welch.
Again,
yeah,
yes,
there's lots of beautiful actresses out there
and
actors.
Yes,
I mean, Sean Connery seemed like forever. My mom was like, she always thought he was really hot, and he seemed to stay very attractive. It's Sam Elliott. I mean, there's just lots of actors that as they got older, they were still very, handsome and rugged.
Sam Elliott is the new Sean Connery since we have no Sean Connery.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a new TV show right now.
Yeah.
It's on TV. So there you go.
And I do miss saying this silly accent. I think everybody in the chat, or if you're watching this later on, I think if you're a guy, you're going to do a Sean Connery accent. About 3, 2, 1. All right. Yeah. I love this. I love this movie because it goes into the mindset of like, well, you had everything and you never thought about the future, but when the future came and knocked on your door, you panicked your ass off. Your asshole went, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, but did you think when the computer changed his time stone, right, in his hand, that it knew do you think that, see, parts of it made me think, well, it wants him to go and try to stop people from leaving. Okay. But then later it made me think that maybe it wanted him to get out because it knew that if he got out, that it might stop the whole utopian process. So which one do you think it was? It was the betterment of man, or that it was trying to really stop him from or letting people get out, because it really thought that people had gotten out?
I think the computer is like every other piece of tech that we watch in this movie. The computer, its logic core, its programming is eroding, and it's not functioning the way that was originally pushed out when it came off of the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And so whenever he's asking, will I get my time back? Will I be able to will I be able to live my remainder of my 4 years once I come back with a successful job? And the computer's just dead silent. It doesn't answer him.
It says it answered. He said, I already answered that question over and over again, because it didn't understand it. It was like it didn't compute. So later on, when it came back and it was trying to deprogram him, to get the information out, and it was during the carousel, it was like the computer couldn't handle
everything going on
at one time, because it was outdated. Just like you saw in the other levels as they went down, the deterioration, of the process that was used to go really smooth is now all messing up. It's rotting. It's starting to fall apart. It's leaking. We don't know for sure what they're eating. You got that whole process because the people who have gotten out are now being frozen. to be taken and served up as food. So it was, the whole, it was showing you the underbelly of what happens if you put everything in the hands of the computers to run it for us, because we're lazy and all we want to do is lay around and have sex and eat, and
I
party.
feel personally attacked.
Yeah. But to me, the whole concept was very intriguing. It was kind of like intriguing about what my life could be like if I didn't have to work anymore. I could just go somewhere and have all my needs fulfilled, and just be able to just get dressed up every day and go out and just, oh, this is wonderful. Let's go party and eat and pick some handsome dudes up and, have an orgy or whatever. And then I go home and take a nice hot bath and relax and listen to music and eat some more wonderful food. I mean, who wouldn't want to live that way? You know what I mean? But the thing is that they didn't realize that the detriment of it, because that instead of, you weren't really living a life, you were just biding time until it was your turn to, to die. And when Logan looked at his hand and he realized his time was up, basically, the concept of everything that he had learned a little bit about from Jessica was that, my life is about over and I'm going to be hunted if I try to leave. And what the computer tells him, he has to go outside and find sanctuary and destroy it, because that's what it wanted.
And I like how they have the renewal. You get the feeling that the renewal centers are there for the elites and for the people in the ruling caste. And yeah, you Sandman too can get in there and get that done. Mm-hmm. But you don't really get the feeling like everybody's supposed to filter through there and see Farrah Fawcett Majors. And you get, I got that feeling that it was just supposed to be something that, like, it's for the elites, this Renew Center is for the people that are going running, because there's a cult of us. There's a small underground railroad of us that we know 30's coming, and we don't want to be here and go around and combust into flame. We want to.
Yeah, I felt that a little bit, but then I also felt when you saw the one gentleman that came by and he was all scratched up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he'd gotten attacked because he went there for whatever reason to catch a
runner. Billy.
Okay, yeah. So you need that type of center with the top of the notch stuff to make it so you look perfect again, so that you won't have scars and stuff, because the whole concept of the whole utopian thing is how beautiful everyone was. Everybody was perfect.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
There was no ugly, overweight people that were not attractive. All the women, were attractive, tall, slim. Some were shorter, but very voluptuous. I mean, it was a very good selection of variety for anyone that wanted it. I mean, when you went into the orgy area and you saw, there was this bodies mingling, but it was like Adonises running around with little goddesses in there, all groping and grabbing and having a great time in a euphoric way. So, and even in the little mall area when people were walking around, you just didn't see anyone that wasn't not attractive. I mean, everyone was attractive. So I think that you would want to keep, the people that might have gotten injured or fell down the stairs, or, there had to have been something so that the computers developed something to keep those people looking, good or something, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just leaping, but to me, I can understand why you'd have that, because people were conceited, I guess.
Vain.
Had a little bit of people that were, very vain, and they wanted
a very vain and narcissistic society. If this movie was made in 2022, they could get at least this selfie culture. Actually, if this movie would have been made in 2012 or 2013, the selfie culture could have really glommed onto this film, and you half of the film would have been women doing, getting that perfect shot, showing that queen energy.
Plus, remember what he said that, you could do your whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got to see that one scene where he first dials in Jessica and she shows up and she's got half her midriff all the way down, you could see her butt and everything, you could see it all. So basically, if a woman wants to be on the circuit a lot, or even a man, and they want to look a certain way, they would go and get this taken care of, or that, just like women do today and men do, getting breast augmentation or getting their tummy tuck or getting some butt implants, to make their little butt a little, more perky or whatever, So, why wouldn't they have that in a utopian area? Apple butt or whatever they call it, takes two hands to handle a whopper or whatever, So I thought that was a good thing to have in there. And basically, maybe they wrote that in just so that Farrah Fawcett could be the one most attractive woman in there.
That's a possibility.
Because she had her hair was done different than everybody else, and it was pretty and blonde, and her outfit was different than everyone else's. So, I just noticed a lot of those little things like that, but she was beautiful. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Very attractive.
Cronus is like, a nipple slip is not evil. Tommy's like, Janet's exposing a nipple. The steam just got steamy.
Well, the thing is that the scene where they're out and they're walking, for the day and a half or whatever, and they're thirsty, and then they find the water.
Yeah.
And then they get over and they're looking down and you see the beautiful water, and they jump in. So, and that's when you get to see, her butt naked or whatever. And both of them are butt naked, in the water, swimming around, enjoying themselves. So they're like becoming one with nature, realizing, wow, it's just being outside isn't as bad. But when she first has that lizard that crawls up her skirt, she didn't like that. She didn't know what that was. So I guess there was another creature besides the cats. It was a lizard. So that just showed that whatever happened, that the earth was rejuvenating itself. There were animals and stuff again. So they would be able to survive out there. But thank God they found one person that was older that reads, that knows how to read books and stuff, to teach them how to, grow crops and, do all the things they're going to need to live out on their own, again, to repopulate the planet.
Our chat's having fun right now. I'm happy. This Peter Ustinov, he agrees to go back with him to the city, and it looks like they're going to get entry, but then they're like, wait, how do we get in the city? I guess you have to sneak back in.
Remember when they left left out the side of a mountain.
Yes.
So there wasn't like a door where you could just go to. So when they were going back, I was like, they're going back a totally different way. They're just, because they're by the ocean, which before we didn't see them leave. They never went on a beautiful sandy beach or anything like that. No. So it was a totally different way to get back. But to me, that made perfect sense that they were trying to figure out a way to get back. And when they were able to get there and see how the water was being taken into the city, that they figured, okay, well, we're going to have to leave him here, and hopefully we can find him, soon enough before too much time goes by and he dies, because he has nothing to eat, and he's out in the open.
He's right there next to the city. There's nobody on watch. That's the thing that killed me. Like, there's no Sandmen that are stationed outside. Yeah, I should be showing.
Because they couldn't risk that. I mean, the computer couldn't risk it. Remember, it told Logan, "We're going to send you outside to find out where Sanctuary is and destroy it." So no one else had been out there, and you could tell what he was trying to understand. He didn't understand what they meant by going outside. Why do we need to go outside? What's outside? He didn't understand enough, and the computer didn't understand itself enough to be able to explain to him what to expect out there. You know what I mean? It was just wanting him to go out there because it figured he knew something more than what he was saying because he had the onks on him. He had found it. So, there was a few gaps here and there, but it gave you, the watcher, it opened up your mind enough to where you started trying to understand what it was that they were in search of. Even the people that had whispered to another person when they got close and realized that they were going to die, or they didn't know for sure what was going to happen to them, but they just knew their life was ending, and they were in fear of it. So that's why they were starting to find out, trying to figure out a way to get out. And so we don't know who before that, because we didn't get to find out enough about, because there was quite a few people down there when they blew up the hole in the wall, Francis and the other Sandman, to go in there. There was quite a few people. There would look like maybe 30 or so people that were down in there. So that's how many people that at that one time were all working on trying to figure out a way to get out, to find sanctuary themselves. And then you saw, it looked like quite a few people in the frozen walls when he showed them that he had taken. So none of those people made it out because he had frozen them. But we know people did make it out because of the old man had told him about, his mother had told him of many people that here every so often people would come by and they would go on their own. So, so people had made it out. So they could have made a TV series, or and maybe even a second movie about what happened after, years later.
Two book sequels.
Well, I didn't read any of the books, so I never did.
I'm just imparting upon you. They did make a pair of book sequels, a pair of novels. No, I didn't know about it.
I'm interested in finding out what happened to some of these people.
The Logan's Run TV series was kind of interesting because the first couple episodes retells the movie, and then it goes into what do we do now? And it doesn't last very long. It's only about 14 episodes. I need to watch it. I've heard from people, they said that it's worth your time. It's 70s sci-fi if you like it. If you like 70s sci-fi, then you should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite actresses for early, I shouldn't say early, like mid-60s musicals, Louisa Von Trapp, played by Heather Menzies. She plays the Jessica 5 character in the TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just gorgeous.
Oh, so basically the series was the movie just made into a series? So
yeah,
they made before or after?
After the movie came out, they had a lot of interest in it. There was another book sequel coming out about Logan's Run, or had come out, and people were grabbing into it, and people were getting involved with that. And then in 77, when Star Wars came out, everybody's scrambling for sci-fi. Give me sci-fi. I'm hungry for sci-fi. And they had 14 episodes of Logan's Run, which is sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
But it's dystopian sci-fi. Whereas Star Wars starts out, Star Wars, A New Hope. And like that completely contrasts everything with the sci-fi movement of the 70s up until that point. Because up in the 70s, you had a bunch of dystopian sci-fi movies all come out, and they're interesting, and they're not feel-good movies. They're interesting, but they show you what could happen if things go wrong. And they're warning signs. Star Wars wasn't that. And so it was a breath of fresh air, and everybody wanted this new hopeful sci-fi. So you have 14 episodes of this come out, and it wasn't to everybody's liking. The ratings dropped pretty precipitously from what I understand. I was only 2 or 3 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have just recollections of people that watched it, and they said, yeah, the first few episodes it retells the movie tale, but then it went off in some other directions that the books were not going into,
Yeah.
and that's all I've been able to hear from various fans of the Logan's Run series. I would love to just sit down and listen to them talk about it, because this movie is really important in terms of sci-fi, just for the fact that you would have this, and then you had Alien in 79, which was really good haunted house sci-fi. And then you had Blade Runner come out in 84, 82. My bad.
Yeah, that's amazing, though. When did this one come out?
76.
Okay, the difference between the visual from this movie just until Blade Runner is amazing, because Blade Runner, I remember watching it. It was years later when it came out, after it came out, because I didn't see it at the movie theater. But just the technology alone on how much more futuristic and realistic to me it looked, was amazing. And same thing with The Fifth Element, the futuristic look of the city, the way the cars were flying around, and I just thought it was just amazing. I absolutely love that. That's another movie I would love for us to do, because it was so good. I just loved the concept of it. It just seemed realistic to me that the future could look like that.
Well,
But I still loved the models. To me, in the scenes that showed the details on the little models with the little, you'd see them in that little cool little seat, 2-seater tube seat. I just thought that was just awesome. I
that
just
was
loved
very
it.
cool.
Yeah, I loved it. And just to sit, all I could think of was how much fun we could all have just sitting around building that
The
set.
tube car.
Just the city, the little
Yeah.
city, the way that it was all built. I could spend a year working on something like that every single day, painting, sculpting, molding, or whatever, and trying to learn how to do the little motors to make the little things go back and forth and
Yes.
stuff. I just thought it was freaking awesome. And I know that makes me such a geek, but I could see myself walking around it and looking at it and visualizing myself being one of the little people walking around in that model. I just thought it was just so neat. And you just don't see that anymore at all. I mean, I was real surprised when they put it in Beetlejuice, because it fit and it looked awesome in Beetlejuice too, to have the small little,
Miniature.
diorama, or whatever you want to call it. It's just, I don't know. I just love that. That was one of my favorite things in the movie, was that whole city that they made, and the details and stuff. I just thought that was just phenomenal. I just loved it a lot.
I love the 70s movies. I really do. This movie influenced quite a bit of pop culture. For those of you that are into the RPGs, Janet just started playing the third edition engine from Pathfinder that I'm running her and a party through. There's a game released in 84, 86 by Alan Varney called Paranoia. And Paranoia is a special game because it is a game where you are supposed to have as much satire in your world as you can, and they unlock you. You come out of your pod, and you're given a red uniform, and so they tell you, okay, you're going to be given red tasks, and if you see other colored doors, don't worry about them. They're not for you. Anything with a red door, it's yours. And everything's built on a hierarchy of colors, much like this movie is. And you see where you belong or lower, you can go there and indulge, have fun. And it's a very cute little game, but it's one of those games where They tell you, like, okay, you've been in a pod. The computer has programmed you with everything you know. The computer also tells you he is your friend. The computer wants you to love the computer because you and him should trust each other. The computer is your friend. Don't forget that. Now, you are a troubleshooter, and from time to time, we may call upon you to help rid the city. Alpha City needs to be rid of problems. So we will enlist you with special tasks, troubleshooter. Troubleshooter, we need you to take care of red tasks. So you have just some small stepping stones, and don't worry. Also, the computer regrets to inform you that you may have a mutation in your genetic code. I'll let you know what your mutation is. It's okay. The computer's your friend. He wants you to thrive, and maybe in the next batch there won't be a genetic flaw in this code. Oh, by the way, you're also a member of a secret society, and here's your secret society. Now, I do want you to be aware. Secret societies are illegal. So if you see other people that are involved with secret societies, we want you to report them because they're not being very, very secret. Now, finally, troubleshooter. If you see other mutants or heretics, if you see people that are practicing or edicts that would be following the rules and regulations of a secret society, it is your job to help the friend computer and let us know what the problem is and where, and you will be rewarded. So you are given this backstory, and as you do things, you get other uniforms. So red goes to magenta, goes to orange, and you get bigger, more dangerous jobs like taking trash out of a building, walking down all 10 flights of stairs. It's just small, medial things. But they don't tell you. They make you sound like you're a big, very important person. You're a red troubleshooter. You're going to help the friend computer and the great society of Alpha City, and it's just a great RPG. But because the game is set up the way it is, the computer has told everybody you're a very special red troubleshooter. And throughout the course of just a simple evening's play, the computer will pull you aside. One of the troubleshooters in your crew, we believe he's a mutant. It is your job to exterminate all mutants. And so you'll have inter-party fights throughout the course of an evening, but don't worry, the computer has 6 other genetic clones perfected just like you, waiting to be used. When you expire, do not worry. We will upload your consciousness to another clone of yours. If you run out of the 7th clone, we can bring you back with another batch, but there might be some other genetic flaws in that batch of 7 of you. So try not to get killed. It's a great game, and it reflected very well in the hobby. People loved it. It was a return to Alpha City, or return to the world of Logan's Run. And this was in '86, and a lot of people just ate this up like gangbusters at a convention. It was a wonderful game at Gen Con and at Dragon Con. I played it at Dragon Con, and it was a blast. West End Games did it. A few other game companies have had it over the years, and it just holds together very well. And then in 2002, Janet, did you ever see the movie with Christian Bale called Equilibrium? No?
I don't really like Christian Bale, so I didn't really even watch his movies.
Is this going back to a certain incident on a certain Terminator movie with Skynet where Christian Bale kind of came a little unhinged?
Oh, you mean in the after behind the scenes video?
It was a behind the scenes video that made it everywhere. And if it was done,
well, I didn't like him before that video came out. So no, that wasn't the reason.
I'm just going to say that I know that you don't like Christian Bale, and that's okay. He's not my cup of tea either. But he was in Equilibrium, which Equilibrium is there's a lot derived out of Logan's Run. They just kind of slide over this dystopian society. No, Kronos. It was not a good Terminator movie. And in Equilibrium, they have the same society style setup, but you have these walled cities where everybody has their uniform color, and you do brown things, and you do blue things, and you do these things. And then there's a tetragrammaton clerics, the cops, that they regulate the problems in the city. But at a certain time, everybody in the city must inject themselves with their prosium. And the prosium deadens your emotional nerve centers, and you just literally turn into a Vulcan. And then throughout the course of your day, as you're doing your business, they'll announce on the PA systems in the city the following computer games are rated no for nobody because they cause you emotional distress. Do not play them. If you're found to be in possession of these computer games, you can get arrested or processed by the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton clerics are these gun fu fighting. I said gun fu. They practice with like 45s,
Mhm.
and they do
Well,
this. Really,
can I ask a question real quick? Why in this environment, why would they let this game even be made if it was illegal?
it was not made. It was a relic of a previous existing civilization,
Oh.
and we will teach you about the previous existing situation from that civilization and how they failed and why we have risen above from the ruins of that. And it's another great movie which shows you dystopian future and how if we let the wrong people have responsibility, we could really be in a bad shape. Like, I don't know, like maybe some coked out son of a president, Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that. There's a laptop somewhere. I guess Alienware is not going to help out Hunter Biden and give him a new laptop, but you have this great movie called Equilibrium, and I call it a great movie because it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a guilty pleasure film. We'll talk about it at length later, I'm sure. But Equilibrium is a spiritual descendant or sequel from Logan's Run because it really does echo the society, and it gets in that gritty nature of what really would it look like. Would it be such a clean future like in Logan's Run? No. And they filmed a lot of that in the movie Rome. And Rome is not a clean city. They have some beautiful architecture there, not a clean city. And it does have, there's an allegory for the medical malpractice, which we just experienced in 2020 to 2022. Anyway, did you have your prosium shot yet? Okay, so as far as it's concerned for me, Logan's Run it's as big of a movie for nerds as Star Wars would be for the fandom. Okay, and I'm drawing a line there because Star Wars went mainstream. It did great mainstream. There was toys. There was board games. It's an amazing saga.
You can buy stuff from Logan's Run. I got on
eBay.
I got on eBay and a couple other places after we were first asked to do this movie, just to look and see what the fans thought of, and I was shocked how expensive, like the weapon that the Sandman would carry. It was hundreds of dollars. Then there was the communicator and the belt that you would wear with the costume. And a few other things like that. And I was surprised that, there was lots of them. So there's, and other costumes and pictures of the actors autographed and stuff. So there's a pretty, it looked like a very healthy lineup of people interested in purchasing items that were used in the movie and for collectors for themselves to have. So it didn't look like it was a nothing burger type, following for this. Now, I don't know at the time if they had lunch boxes and whatever, things like that. But I think there was a few things, because I remember seeing people with different things. I don't know if it was T-shirts or whatever, but I do remember seeing a few things here and there, um, you know, years after, just like you do now with, you'll see T-shirts with Pink Floyd and Star Wars and the Blues Brothers. And I just see lots of stuff like that still. So, and not all of them are, looking 70s or anything like that, to me, at least. So it's younger people that are thinking this nostalgic stuff is pretty cool. So I could still see people buying things. Like it'd be smart if they came out with like a collector's edition DVD and maybe some, type of poster or something. I mean, are the people still alive that were in the movie?
Most of them are. Jenny Gutter and Michael York are. I just found a picture of Marriott Hartley and Donald Moffat. Remember the old man from the Thing movie, the man with the pop gun? Well, this is him. Yeah. Get off the screen. That guy.
Yeah, I remember him. With the big giant eyebrows.
Yes.
That's one thing I noticed about him.
As a future Mentat, I'm just saying I want the eyebrows. Okay. Well, there is some memorabilia. I was just scrolling through there. The movie posters for $250 are best offer. There's a movie poster sheet that's got 12 watchers on it for $175. You have a lot of memorabilia from both the movie and the TV series, it looks like. And
yeah, something I would look for would be like the major actors' autograph picture, and then maybe a script, an autograph script with the director's signature or something like that in a really nice shadow box or something like that. Now that's something that I would, I'd be happy to have myself.
Now, retro is a word for it. That's the president and he's also in the Jack Ryan film Clear and Present Danger. Yeah, Sappho juice wouldn't hurt either. I love Sappho juice. Okay, so there's something else I want to talk about. Just some other stuff that is important about this movie. Aside from the fact that when you get back to town, all the old Sandmen grab Jessica Six and Logan, and they subdue him, take him to the computer, and the computer just doesn't get it can't handle what is in his head, and everything starts to collapse. At that point, Peter Ustinov, the old man, and that's his name in the movie, the old man, he is allowed kind of a heartwarming like role or a new arc in his life, as you would say, as he gets this throng of people that approach him and they just want to touch him and like ask him like, oh my God, are you what happens when we get old?
Yeah, he's almost like Moses, when he came down from the Mount Sinai.
It has that feel.
Yeah, it's very it's almost, God, what's the word? He's almost like a holy man. He's got knowledge that they've never heard.
He's
so
a guru.
He'd be able to talk all day long and read from books and have 24/7 people wanting to hear from him and learn from him.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine like being surrounded by cats all day for decades? And then when you're like at the point where the doctor should be seeing you about your prostate, all of a sudden these irritating 20-somethings want to come up and talk to you, and all they know how to do is talk about like what they like with their vodka. And can you tell me about what the world was like before all this, the Dome City happened? Could you imagine?
The thing is, we don't know.
He has no idea.
Yeah, from what I could tell, when he said that his mother said that many people came by, there was already no city. because when he was born, and so his mom and dad probably escaped from there. See,
Yeah,
so
I got the feeling he was a first generation or the first generation exile from that city.
yeah, because
And
that, like I was saying, it was interesting to me how you didn't see pregnant girls walking around in there. Okay,
no,
so they were being fed birth control or something,
it seems
because
good.
if she was able to get pregnant after she came out with her man, right, and
Yeah.
had give birth to this now old man, so there wasn't a problem with fertility already. It's just that nobody had children because all the children were hatched out basically in the laboratory. So, because nobody was giving birth, they were, like, you were a mother. I wish I knew my mother. So maybe they take the babies away right after they're born and they're put into these things or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because remember when she said that in the car that she had wished she knew who her mother was. So were the babies still being born through people?
No, I don't think so. I think they were being hatched or grown
Yeah.
in a vat.
Yeah. See, me too. That's what I said. But when she said that, it was like interesting. You know,
Mhm.
it made you think about, well, where did the babies come from?
And I think
And
that
that's why it made me think back to the opening scene where you see Logan tapping on the glass at the two babies that are laying in that weird looking, cradle thing. There was only two babies in there. It was a huge bed with the weird things that came over the top of it like that with cushions on it or whatever. And it was almost like he was thinking maybe that one of them kids could have been his. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The interest was there, like his progeny was going to be one of the next Sandman. See, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that part again just to see if I still see that or look at it that way. So I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't get that feeling?
I didn't really I thought about it a little bit, but I thought this movie is a sanitized version of Equilibrium and Blade Runner
Hmm.
because they do everything in their power to keep everything no mess. Like Equilibrium has dirt and grime. You can see it when they're driving around, when they're doing things. You can see it when they're exploring the ruins and they're like, "Oh, look, sense offenders." In this movie, everything is just amazingly clean and spotless. There's almost like a hint of the chrome retro. What is that future chick look that was popular in the 50s, where like you had the chrome toaster, you had everything was chrome, and it was basically because some steam locomotive came out in the late 40s, 50s, and they said, oh, I love the look of that chrome locomotive. Let's make it everywhere. And so
It's
everything
like
was chrome.
that vacuum cleaner, something Lux.
Yes.
Electrolux or something,
Electrolux.
and you'd see all those magazine articles and almost, what was it, WandaVision, when they had the little commercials and stuff on the TV and stuff, uh, in between the episodes and stuff, there was like these weird commercials, and it was almost like that, nee, 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 the
Yes.
Perfect Housewife and all that. It was like they were using that same format for their commercials for WandaVision and her mind, of her little world that, from television from a long time ago in the 50s or whenever it was, from that show. So it was basically
Deco.
that same
Yeah.
concept is what I was taking from it. At least that's what it looked like, Art Deco type stuff.
I don't know. To me, this movie is very important as far as like, how does this movie rate and how did this movie influence future films and creators, artists, writers, and to me, out of all the 70s dystopian future films, which Soylent Green's good, Silent
Mhm.
Running is all right.
The
I'm not
Planet
a
of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes is great.
Mhm.
But I mean, I'm not a big fan. They made a lot of those Planet of the Apes movies too. Um,
What was 3 of them?
more than that, I thought. There was
Oh,
like
really?
4.
Oh, I don't know.
It's very rewatchable, and this movie it feels like out of all the films that came out in the 70s, this is the one that you really it's accessible, and you can get into it, and you're watching it, and you're like, hey, we could be that way if we really make bad choices, because we could.
Yeah,
We're
but
gonna
see, today, if you listen to a lot of people, they would do that tomorrow. If they could pay money, they would sign up and live in a place like that where everything was taken care of and they didn't have to do anything. I mean, you pretty much do it now. You walk around with your phone and everything's on your phone. You order your food, you get your car cleaned, you get your gas, you do everything. You just swipe a card. You don't really have to do anything. And the thing is, when you try to talk to some people and you're like, well, there are farmers that grow all the crops that feed the cows and the chickens and stuff that are sent to be processed and put in the clean packaging and stuff at the store that you go and you purchase so you can cook them and eat them, and it's like, without visual aids, these people don't have a clue what you're talking about. They wouldn't know what a cow or a chicken looked like, or a goat, or certain food, unless it was told what it was, because they don't know where any of this stuff comes from. They've never had to deal with the actual processing of food. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to me.
Tomorrow, okay, the trailer for this movie says, in a future where anything you want can be consumed, anything you ask for or desire can be obtained.
Mm-hmm.
In this future where there are no energy problems, tomorrow, December 13th, there's going to be a big announcement. The Department of Energy plans to announce Tuesday that scientists have been able for the first time to produce a fusion reaction that creates a net energy gain, a major milestone in a decades-long, multi-billion-dollar quest to develop a technology that provides unlimited, cheap, clean power. The aim of fusion research is to replicate nuclear reactions which energy is created on the sun. It's a holy grail of carbon-free power that scientists have been chasing since the 1950s. And it's at least a decade or maybe decades away from commercial use. The latest development is going to be touted by the Biden administration as an affirmation of a massive investment by the government over the years. And they're going to throw more of your tax dollars into this, okay? So if you guys had a couple quarters in your piggy bank, say goodbye to them too. Huge amounts of public and private funds have been funneled into this race worldwide. And it's the ultimate manufacturing fusion machinery that can bring electricity to the grid with no carbon footprint, with no radioactive waste, and far fewer resources than it takes to harness solar and wind power, which don't work. Beyond the climate benefits, promoters say it could help bring cheap electricity to impoverished parts of the world, which they will not, because you cannot make money off poor people. To most of us, it's only a matter of time, said a senior fusion scientist familiar with the work of the National Ignition Facility at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California, where this discovery was made. In California, of course, where lies are born. The development was first reported by the Financial Times on Sunday. I'm sorry, Shadow, I know you're not a liar, but I just want to say that California's Sacramento is so full of shit. Okay. It's confirmed by two people with the research. They're familiar with it, who spoke on a condition of anonymity to avoid getting ahead of the official announcement. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm was slated to make the announcement Tuesday at a media event billed as the unveiling of a major scientific breakthrough. Okay, this is a nothing burger. Guys, I'm reading this to you because I'm trying to help you understand that all that's going to happen is they're going to take more of your money for the pursuit of this garbage crap that's not going to work. We are decades away from this. They don't even have a clue as to what they're doing. They talk about the science of nuclear fusion relying on smashing two atoms together at very high speeds and transforms the energy from the reaction into electricity that can power homes and offices without emitting carbon into the air or dumping radioactive waste into the environment. But still, the liberals will complain about it because it involves nuclear energy. In decades, scientists have been experimenting with fusion reactions, and they have not now been able to create one that they had not until now been able to create one that produces more energy than it consumes. While the achievement's significant, there are still monumental engineering and scientific challenges ahead, like making this plausible to where they could actually diagram it for you on multiple blackboards. Creating the net energy gain required engagement is one of the largest lasers in the world. You need the largest laser in the world basically to do this. And the resources needed to recreate the reaction on the scale required to make fusion practical for energy production is very immense. More importantly, engineers have yet to develop machinery capable of affordably turning the reaction into electricity that can be practically deployed to the power grid. So just keep in mind when you hear the bilge manure factory cranking his mouth tomorrow, just remember, this is just bullshit. They don't have a clue what they're talking about. They don't have a clue how to make it to where you can even have a meter set up to where they can figure out how much to charge you, because they're still going to charge you. It's net zero. Listen, kids, you're still going to pay because you're not thinking right. You're not doing right things. You're grabbing onto your guns and you're grabbing onto your Constitution, your founding document. Stop that. The new way, follow what Hunter's doing. Do what Hunter does. Hunter's the smartest guy I know. Sorry. I would love to say that this is going to be a great thing. And fusion is the way of the future. But we've got none of us here in chat is going to see it. Our kids won't see it.
Mm-mm.
We have to force our society into a nuclear age and using nuclear power. Hey, Tommy, take care, man. And thank you for being here, sir. We have a few things we have to really lean into the people that are in control and have them embrace nuclear power, because the fission plants we have are very usable. And nobody wants to do it in this administration. It pisses me off. Yes.
Yeah, they've already shut down every nuclear power plant in California.
Fusion will happen eventually. Yeah, you're right.
And, how expensive will that be for them to try to restart nuclear plants? So the best thing to do is to let the states, like Arizona has Palo Verde, and California's begging for power from them all the time. And California, pretty much the whole state has rolling blackouts because they don't have enough power for the people they have in their state. But there you go.
For those of you that don't know who our friend Tommy Guinea Pig Collective is, I'm going to put his channel in here. And he's been doing a lot of uploads lately. He's got a few shorts out there. And
Yeah, Cronus is saying something about the sun can power stuff all day long. Yeah, it can, but you have to have so much land covered with solar panels. And who wants to look at solar panels, miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of solar panels? And that means no trees, and that means no grass. That means you can't have cattle on that land. You can't have deer. You can't have birds flying around because they'll poop on it and stuff like that. I mean, it's just you whine and complain that you want to save the forest, but yeah, you have to cut the forest down to put the solar panels out. So I don't know. The people aren't thinking smart when it comes to that type of stuff. And what do you want to do now? You want to put giant platforms of solar panels out in the ocean? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what these people think they're going to get out of it. I mean, some idiot came up with these ideas in California to take these little plastic balls and throw them in the water, in the reservoirs and stuff to help keep the water from evaporating. And now you got all these plastic balls getting out and floating around that don't, dissolve. I don't know. They think of all these stupid ideas and they make us pay millions of dollars for it. And it's not just California that pay for it, because every time California goes into debt on certain of these stupid things, we have to bail them out, the rest of us, when we don't do those stupid shit in our states. So I don't know. I just don't understand it. And I think it's ridiculous. And I don't think any state should have to bail another state out for any reason, because our state, the state that I'm in right now that I moved to, has a balanced budget amendment. And, let's see any of these other states do that shit. California wouldn't survive a year.
No.
If they had to follow a budget. They wouldn't be able to do it because they charge so much for shit and they waste so much money. It's ridiculous. I don't know how anyone in their right mind that could get out of California wouldn't. And the sad fact is the fact that when people leave California, New York, Oregon, Washington, all these liberal, very, very liberal states, they leave, but they take their liberal ideas with them, and they move to Texas and Houston and Austin and San Antonio and places like that, and they vote liberal and turn the new place that they thought was going to be so wonderful into the place they left. Why? Why did you move there? You wanted lower taxes, you wanted cheaper products, you wanted more for your money, and now you're turning it into the same shithole that you left. I just don't understand it. I can't comprehend it. I don't understand why these people, why they think if they left where they were, why did they leave? And why would they want to turn the place they moved to into what they left? I don't, how does that make any sense at all? And it doesn't, because none of them can explain it to me. They're like, well, I want to help the poor people. That's why you got tent cities. You got needles laying in the streets, stuff like that. People don't even walk down the road because it's not safe, because you did that. I mean, you go to these cities, go to all these cities. I would love it. If I had the money, I would do a giant thing and hire people to go to all these big cities and these cities that have been run like Chicago and stuff for, 100 years. Go back 100 years and find out who ran the city, what leanings they had, and what they did with the money, and why the cities are failing, and why they think that if we just had a few more $1 million, we could fix this problem. They say that year after 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 year. It's this broken record, and the people still keep voting these people in. Why? They're spending money that's not even theirs, and they're not getting anything for it. They're not, it's like, if you ran your house the way that these big cities run it, you'd all be in prison because you wouldn't be able to pay your bills. You wouldn't be able to, you'd be ripping people off left and right.
You can't take your checks, sir.
It's just, I don't know. I'm sorry. I can go off on a tangent, but I just can't help it. I just do not understand the mentality of these people. And this utopian movie that we watched, it's basically the same thing. They run it into the ground until it no longer works. Okay. And but they still want more money to keep running it the same way they ran it before, and that ran it into the ground. And then people are, okay, well, here, I'll give them some more money. Maybe they can fix it. And then they go, well, next year we'll have a bigger budget. Well, it'll be run better. But it isn't, because they don't change the way they run it. They run it the same shitty way they did before, but this time they spent 3 times as much money. And the next time they spend 6 times the amount of money to do the same exact crap. I don't know. I don't understand.
I brought up that article because I heard it today on the radio. They were going to talk about fusion power, and so it was interesting to hear that and then read that article to you guys. I had not read the article yet. I thought it was impressive that they're making themselves a little closer, and they have an idea of how to plot their discoveries. How do we do this path to the success story? But they don't have a clue how to do it yet. They don't have an idea of even how to measure how much energy they're creating in fusion. They don't. So when you're hearing these politicians talk about this magical fucking energy source, just ask them where it's at and how can they expedite this? They can't. In 2031, this is supposed to be a thing. It's already in the rule book for ESG. They want to be on fusion power by 2031. That's in the ESG rule book. That's what they want. That's in their book. So keep in mind that they're going to be trying to drop some money into this, and I'm pretty certain that they're going to be failing because it's going to be ran by the government and not by a private investment, not by private thought thinkers. It's going to be ran by people that want to learn how to regulate the population even further than what they have. Oh, by the way, have your 5th set of boosters, kids. And don't forget, children under 5 can have boosters.
But remember, if they can get us all on this digital currency, they won't have to ask us. They'll just say, well, if you don't do this, or if you don't do that, you don't get to eat. So we'll take your money and we'll pay for this anyways. You see?
Yeah, Hungar, I figured you passed out. I sent a chat to your brother to send you the StreamYard link so you could join in and talk with us about this movie. We're about done talking. I apologize, sir. We did talk about it. We gave 2 hours of Logan's Run and the associated cascade of things that followed. And I think you'd be proud, be happy with what we talked about. And are you wanting to continue talking about this, or have you exhausted your topics for the list, Janet?
Me? Well, I mean, there's a few other things that we can still talk about with the when they went back to the when they were going through there, and about the robot that they encountered, and how it reminded me of Don't Go Will Robinson or whatever. There was just little things like that made me think of these older shows. And in a way, it was kind of very interesting because it is funny how you can go through the list of all these famous directors that made big movies, like this movie, the movie Westworld. Then you had what was some of the other ones we were talking about a while ago?
Well, you have Silent Running, we have Soylent Green, we have
and then Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
So you have all these different movies, and they have little details here and there that it seems like they're interwoven with each other, either because the writer took certain leeway or whatever from other people's stories and added it here and there, a splash of this and that into their story, or you had the director that was influenced by this, that, or the other, and threw little aspects of that into their vision of whatever it was they were filming, or the producers asked to have certain things put in for whatever reasons. So you got to see the Engel mixing of these different points of view because of the inspiration from different people that were involved, like with the special effects people. A couple of the scenes jumped out big time with the music, because I tell you, I like a movie where, to me, the movie is either you do that because the music changes and something intense is about to happen, or you hear the romantic music in the background, so that someone's about to get romantic or something like that. It influences your feelings, I think, is what music is supposed to do. But the scene where everything seemed to go well in the movie to me until the scene where Francis shows up at the library with them. Yes. And then he's able to kidnap her and take her upstairs for some reason, instead of rushing in and, I don't know. The whole thing, they made it very dramatic for that. It was when he fell off the balcony, or jumped off the balcony and landed on Logan, right? And they're fighting and rolling around.
That was a poor edit, by the way. When he jumps off and He jumps off. He's like 20 foot away, and he
Yeah.
jumps off just like a 1.5 story balcony. He only should go like 7 feet, but instead he like swings through the air and right on top of Logan.
Yeah, I was almost like it was a swashbuckling movie and he was swinging on the chandelier to land on him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that was kind of funny for me, but it was the overly dramatic music in that one scene where they're rolling around. It was going, dun, 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 rah, 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 you know, like that kind of stuff, almost like in a Star Trek scene.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that I really got me all pumped up, because it was like, before that scene, the music seemed to go with all the different scenes the way it's supposed to. And then it really stuck out like a sore thumb.
Hi, Janet.
Hello.
How are you
I'm
doing?
glad you got a
lady?
nap at least. So you seem like you're rejuvenated.
A little
So
bit.
how you
a little
feeling?
bit.
Good.
Well, I'm on a live stream with, my YouTube crush, so I'm doing good.
Oh, well,
Chris is there too.
I'm glad you got to make it, because I asked Bruce, I said, well, did you get a hold of him to see if he wanted to join us, since it was his idea to do this movie?
No, it was not. It was his super chat, and I'm like,
no, that's what I said. It was his idea that he wanted us to do this movie, so he should be able to come up and talk about it with us. So what about this movie is your favorite? What was the one thing about this that really made you be inspired from this movie?
For the time that it was made, there was nothing like that. Not, if you're a sci-fi fan, for the time that Logan's Run was made, there wasn't no concepts like that out there for movies or anything like that. And just the overall, the cinematography was above it before its time. The soundtrack, the score, I mean, everything was really, really excellent. And you're like watching it and you're like, whoa, is this something that could actually happen in the future? I mean, I think that it is a thinking man's movie, and my, not so awesome opinion.
See, that was something you'll have to watch it later, I guess, when you go back. You can watch the whole thing, recorded thing. We talked about it because I really believed that it could have worked. You know what I mean? But because there wasn't enough people actually involved that knew the truth about how the utopian place was really being run, that it let the other levels that were needed to sustain the utopian city above. That's why as you went down the different layers, it was deteriorating with the leaking water pipes, and that the fisheries weren't being sustained anymore. And that when the people were escaping, that the one robot that was freezing the food to be sent up to keep everybody sustained was now freezing the people as they went by, because nothing else was coming to them. So the whole process started to eat itself, basically, due to the fact that there wasn't anyone that knew the truth about how the place was run and why it was there in the first place. So that's the downfall of basic utopian types of cities and things like that, because the people in charge don't want new people in charge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the whole thing eats itself. But I think it's possible. I think if you had a big enough place, like you see these, like the Quakers and the other different groups of people that work together, and they all had the same goal, of sustaining their families for the future, then it can work. But when you have an entity like the government or some other thing forcing it onto the people without the people really knowing what's going on, that's why it's not successful. I mean, I may be wrong, but that's my point of view on it.
Yeah, utopian lifestyle until your 30s. That sounds awesome. I mean, yeah, you get to do whatever you want. Hey, you hit 30, bye. You're not even alive yet. At that time.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we talked about too, is that I felt I didn't realize it was 30. When I first started watching it again this time, there was lots of things that hit me that I didn't remember. And I was like, because 40 would have been more realistic to me for the characters, simply because of what they look like in the movie. They were way too close to being 30 years old already and not younger than what I was expecting. So when they made that, when they actually said 30 years old, I was like, whoa, that just surprised me, because I was expecting them to be at maybe 40 when they went to the carousel. So, but I could see why a lot of people would think that that type of environment would be a wonderful place to go. It's like I said, heck, I wouldn't mind paying, for a week or two of vacation to go to a place like that and get to just not have to worry about nothing, just have all my food taken care of, push a few buttons and have a little thing go around and have some sexy guy show up in my bedroom whenever I wanted,
It's
all those different things. I can see why people would be attracted to that. You know what I mean? Because you could eat whatever you want. You could drink whatever you want. You can wear whatever you want. You can go
do
wherever
whatever
you
you
want. Do
want.
what you want. Yeah. So you could be whoever you want, So it's, I can see why that would be appealing to people and why people would want to try that type of lifestyle out. But you're right. The thing is, the reason I think in this story they got rid of them by the time they were 30 is because by the time you're starting to get to 30, you're starting to think about what it is that you want in your life. You're starting to think that in your own mind. So that's why they had to get rid of them, because once they started thinking for themselves, they couldn't be controlled anymore. So the whole concept of that is what was scary if you thought about it, in a realistic terms, to know that no one ever gets to really become an adult because they get rid of you before then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever need a sexy man, all you gotta do is message me on Discord, girl. I'm chubby with a beard and a lot of tattoos. I mean, what else does anybody want?
Well, I have one. I have one tattoo. See, that's my only one.
I've got a few.
Yeah, I got it in honor of my mother when she died. So whenever I hug anyone, I'm hugging my mom's.
I got a mom.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. That looked like it took a long time.
Oh,
that one took a long time too. Yeah, when I went and got mine, he said, "That's all you want?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, I don't even classify that really as a tattoo." So it's very simple.
I'm still here. I'm just muting so you guys can have a chat. And it's pretty cool to see Hungar and Janet talking between the personal things and about the movie Logan's Run. I love it. I'll shut up now.
I had a live this morning with Shadow.
Would you live in a place like that? Do you think you could give up everything? Not a place where you had to die at 30, but would you give up everything you have now to go live in a place where everybody shares everything?
I don't know about the whole socialism, communism thing. I don't think so. Life's not supposed to be that easy. If you don't have to work or struggle for what you get, what's the point in having it? That's how I was raised. But I'm old hillbilly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm in the South too, so I can understand that.
Well, I know
but the
you're
thing is, a lot of people that I see today, just listening on the different social media places that I like to go to and listen, and I sit and I like to listen to other people talking about what they think is important. And the younger you go down, the more it seems like, and you look, so many people still living with their parents, and not because they had to move back in because of a tragedy or they lost their job or something because of COVID. These are people that never moved out. You know what I mean? These are people that are used to not having to do anything for themselves. You know what I mean? Had someone else take care of them their whole life. So
I get that. My parents were trying to get me to move back in with them couple of weeks ago.
Well, that's different too.
No.
We've done that. I have 4 sisters, and we've had to step in to help with our father because after our mother died, he's had a harder, he hurt him, got hurt, he fell and hurt his leg, and he's needed more help.
Yeah,
And
when I got hurt from my job, and then when I got really sick, I was staying at my parents' house, and we've got a lot of property up in Kentucky, and my mom wanted to move back to Kentucky, and they were staying in Florida because of me, because I was sick. And I was like, well, one day I woke up, I went in the living room, I was like, well, I got me a place. I'm moving. You guys can go to Kentucky and sell the house. Like, Like, that was quick, but like 2 weeks later, they sold the house and they were up in Kentucky and they were really happy. I mean, I even bought them a RV to stay in until they got their house done. I was like, later.
Well,
the younger generation, I think a lot of them would be all about living in one of the society, even if they had to die at 30, because they really don't know anything. They don't know what's going on in the world.
Well, I was talking to, I don't remember who for sure it was. I was on one of the live streams, but about people who don't really understand where their food comes from and stuff. This one woman who was they went out on a trip, and I think they had an RV and doing all this stuff, and she wandered off and got lost, and she was gone for like 5 days, and when they found her, she was severely dehydrated, she had sunburn and lots of bug bites and stuff, and they asked her, after she recouped for a few days with IVs and stuff, they asked her why she didn't drink any of the water. They said there were streams everywhere, and she said, I didn't have a cup. So I'm just saying, it's pretty scary thinking about how many people are out there that wouldn't be able to survive simply because they've never had to make an effort to even, or they wouldn't even drink out of a garden hose. You know what I mean?
When me and Dee and James were young, living in Kentucky, we would grab a couple of jars of like peaches or something out of the cellar, canned peaches, and we'd grab our rifles and some blankets, and a couple of fishing poles and stuff, and we'd take off into the woods, and we'd stay gone for a couple of days. And we ate really good, and we never got thirsty because I guess we weren't a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, me too. I'd go on trail rides. We'd make our little bedroll and stuff and have our little saddlebags with our snacks and jerky or whatever it is we wanted and our thermos. And we'd go off on our horse and we'd be gone for 3 days. And we'd survive out, just going horseback riding and sleeping on the ground outside and fixing our own food. And then ride back. A lot of people don't know what that's like. They don't realize what they're missing. I mean, they really don't. And that's why some of those places like that, people pay money from the city to go out and trail ride or work on a real ranch, and they pay someone to do it.
I worked on a real ranch before. That's not a lot of fun.
Well, I know, but a person that doesn't get to do that, have never done it in their whole life, I think it's a good way for some of them to really find out. Why do you think shows like Yellowstone and stuff are so popular? Because people in big cities would love to see what it was like to actually get to live in a few days. Yeah, they wouldn't make it. I mean, I don't think very many of them would choose that if they ever got to try it out. But the TV show like Survivor, it's a huge hit because people that live in the big cities think that type of lifestyle is very interesting. And that's why that kind of stuff sells.
I loved it when I was younger. And if I could do it now, I would totally do it.
Yeah, I would do it too. I used to go pick poke salad and blackberries and stuff on horseback.
You know what poke salad is?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's up, girl? How you doing?
Hotel is good. I mean, yeah, and when you're poor, when you're raising a house with five daughters and one bathroom in a 3-bedroom house, you'd go out and you find whatever you could, picking crab apples or whatever, and mulberries or whatever it is that you can get, muscadine grapes. I mean, we used to do that every summer, and we'd have a bunch of chickens. We'd get like 50 chicks, and we'd raise them in the backyard. And then when they were like 10 weeks old, we'd go out and my mom would start wringing chicken necks, and we'd be plucking chickens like crazy, putting them in the freezer, because that's how we were able to have the food we needed to eat. So, I mean, if everybody had to try to figure out what it was like to sustain themselves, I think that more people would be a little less likely to take things from other people if they knew how hard someone had to work for it. When someone's given everything, they'll just take whatever they want from other people and not worry about it because they've never had to work for themselves.
Well, it's the people who know how to do all of those things that, if society or when society crumbles, are going to be the ones that are successful.
Yeah, I'm not going to starve. I know how to squirrel hunt. I know how to clean fish. I've only helped clean one deer, but I think I could do it by myself if I had to.
Well, you would have to do it by yourself, Janet. I'd help you do it.
Huh?
I would do it for you.
Well, I could help because I'm not a wimp. I mean, I'm not saying I can do everything. I mean, I can change a tire and I can change my oil, but past that, I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to do it. But I could take care of myself if it came down to it. And I feel sorry for the people that are out there that just don't have a clue, because either they're too busy or they just don't want to find out what it is, or how they'd be able to do things for themselves. And I think if more people could learn to do things for themselves, they'd have more pride in themselves. Does that make sense? They feel like, I can do it.
When I was growing up, I'd stay with my grandparents up in Kentucky and talk about rural area. Our nearest neighbor was miles away. We didn't have running water in the house. We had to go out and gather water from spring. The only thing that we ever bought to eat was like flour, coffee, sugar, salt and pepper, some spices. But other than that, everything that we ate, we either raised or grew. And food tasted so much better growing up. But we'd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. My grandmother was already up. There'd be sausage and biscuits and eggs cooked on the table, gravy, and then you'd eat. You'd go out, you'd work in the garden if you were one of the girls. If you were one of the boys, you're out in the woods cutting wood with your grandpa. 8 years old, sat there with a chainsaw. And I thought that was completely normal. I mean, I thought it was awesome. And then, you move to a city, or you live in a city, and people don't understand any of that stuff. They don't really understand rural lifestyle. And that brings me to my next movie suggestion.
Uh-oh.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah Johnson.
I love that movie. My mom loved Robert Redford.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's right up there with Casablanca, my favorite movie.
Yeah, my mother also loved The Great Gatsby. She thought that was a wonderful movie. I mean, I'm inspired a lot by my mother. My mother introduced me to so many awesome things of music and movies and crafts. And my dad, too. My dad's the one that inspired me with comic books. He introduced me to comic books and to sci-fi, the sci-fi genre movies. My mother was never really interested in, Godzilla and Star Trek and things like that. And I used to watch all that stuff with my dad. But I had 4 sisters, so I was basically the tomboy, and I, hung out with my dad all the time. But anything family oriented type thing that where it's traditional, like having to sit at the table and say grace and then having to ask to be excused and take your dishes into the kitchen, that type of thing. I just don't see that anymore. It's things like that is one of the reasons why I think that our society is breaking down when it comes to that household, because when you have one parent, one parent has the kids for half the week and the other parent has the kids for half the week. How do you keep family traditions when you have it that way? Or you
I
only
figured
have,
it out.
you know what I mean? Yeah, I know a lot of people can do it depending on who your parent is. But when you have a parent, like a single mother, and she has two jobs and she's not there as much as she would have been if the dad had been home, that type of thing. I was just lucky. I brag about that all the time. I had wonderful parents that were married for, a long time, and raised all of us girls, and but expected things from us. We had to do chores, we had to do our homework, we were expected to keep a certain grade in school, and if we didn't, we got grounded, and we didn't get things. We didn't get to go places, we didn't get to buy the jeans we wanted or certain things like that. So it was a whole thing was discipline. I mean, and man, I got a couple of good whoopings because I deserved it. But
Yeah.
you just don't see that anymore. You see parents that just let their kids pretty much do whatever they want because it's too much trouble.
My daughters would like to be able to do whatever they want, but they don't. They know that they've got chores and stuff to do. And, like Saturday, my daughter wanted new shoes and a couple of pairs of pants. So I was like, get in the car. Listen, I live next door to my ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
So she's the person I talk to most on a daily basis. We co-parent the hell out of everything. She works full time. I'm disabled, so it's like there's an issue at the school. Call Daddy if he's home. He's up there taking care of it. Me and my ex go out and get coffee almost every day.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about right there, because
And
you aren't married anymore, but you care enough about your children to work together to make sure your children get what they need.
yeah, and her husband, he's a cool dude, and they've got a 5-year-old who just loves me to death. He calls me his uncle, and I treat him the same as I do my kids. Like during Christmas and holidays and birthdays and stuff like that, I'm spoiling him as much as I'm spoiling my own, because he doesn't understand that. Hey, why is the Uncle Boss buying me anything for Christmas?
Oh,
So, and like I
see,
tell
that's it.
everybody, I'm like, don't buy me anything for Christmas. Don't buy me anything for my birthday, because my birthday is New Year's Day. Any money that you would spend on me for Christmas and my birthday, give it to me an Amazon gift card, and it'll go to my kids. Oh, and I also want to mention that all the proceeds from my t-shirts that I sell, guys, are going directly to Wounded Warrior Project. I am keeping zero proceeds. I don't need them, don't want them. I just think my t-shirts are hilarious. Buy them. Not only are they awesome, but they're going for a great cause.
I love the shirts, dude.
Wait till you see the new one coming out.
Uh-oh. Well, I put the link in the chat, so
Yeah.
people want to know about Hungar the Starvarian shirts.
Yeah, I just got a message from my ex-wife. Me and her talk all the time. The van that they've got, I bought it for them. It was like, gave them money to put down payment on a house. I don't care about a lot of things, except when it comes to money. My family is more important to me. And everybody's like, well, you always doing stuff for your ex-wife. Is like, she's got my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I am not healthy enough to raise my kids. I'm not. I couldn't do it on my own. Without her, it would be impossible, especially with everything that I'm going through. So it's awesome that, I've got her to help me out.
Well, I'm glad that your children, I don't know if you have more than one, have great parents.
I got 3.
You got 3 kids.
17,
Well,
12, 17, 12, and 11. And I'm almost 50. Oh, jeez.
well, if more people would just think about the future they're leaving for their children and their grandchildren one day, I just think that, I mean, just think how much better our world would be. Just thinking about that one aspect. And if each family took care of their own, we wouldn't have the problems that we have. And that's what's sad.
Yeah. And well, me and Shadow were talking today about The Hobbit. I'm totally off topic. I always do this to people's stream. Sorry, Bruce.
Okay.
You're
But
good.
if, like, at the end when Thorin's saying, if more people, valued friendship and camaraderie over, gold, the world would be a better place, or a merrier place. But happy or sad or merry, I mean, at the end he figured it out. It's not about money. It's not about wealth. It's not about power. It's about, friendship. Having a good meal with your family, sitting down and just goofing off with your kids, listening to them tell you about their day and how they're excited and stuff. That's where happiness comes from. I've been extremely poor. I've had more money than I know what to do with at times. And, all of that, it doesn't matter. It's, your friends and your family that you have around you is what makes life worth living.
Yep. And that's why I tell people all the time. I said, it's, I wish more people could start off in their relationships as friends. And then when you become lovers, it means more because you understand where each other's coming from. And it's hard to lie to your friends.
Yeah, that's why I want to be your friend so much, Janet.
Well, it's just hard. It's hard to look someone in the eye and not be honest with them when you know each other as friends.
Well, I met my ex-wife at a D&D game that I was running. Now imagine that, D&D, you can actually meet a girl.
Yeah, can't imagine that at all.
Well, the thing is, I see that a lot. I see so many people that hook up on a date, a blind date, or they just meet each other at a bar, or and they start their relationship in the center instead of starting at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to work, and it usually doesn't. I mean, it's very, very rare that you have a relationship that lasts when there's nothing there besides, a sexual attraction, because that doesn't last forever.
Yeah, sexual relationships don't last. If there's not friendship, if there's not camaraderie, if you just don't want to be with that person all the time,
Well, how do you have a relationship when you have nothing in common?
Exactly.
I mean, if you love comic books and the other person loves comic books, there's one thing. And then you say you both love fishing, or you both love camping, or you both love hiking, or raising chickens, or
me and my ex, we're both
movies.
big geeks. Me and my ex are both big game geeks. I mean, we'd be bored. We'd sit around and just play Yahtzee all night and stuff like that. Just hang out and play games. Bruce, I do have to apologize to you, sir, on your game stream the other day. I did yell at one of your players.
Why? Why are you apologizing to me?
He was the kid who was arguing about damage and stuff. I finally was like, he's the DM, just take the damage.
Oh, I remember that now. Yeah, Connell was bitching about that. I'm like, yeah, eat it, dude. Just take the damage.
He's the DM. That means that he's right. You take the damage and get on with the game. I was telling Shadow today, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm thinking about running a game with drow characters in the Underdark.
Are you wanting to see bloodshed at the table the first or second adventure day?
Well, it just depends. You know? I think that it would be a little bit fun to run that game. Janet, you'd have to play because we need a female to play the priestess.
Well, it would depend on if I'm done with this other game first, because I'm real busy and I do a lot of stuff, so I'd have to squeeze it in.
Well, we can squeeze it in. Oh yeah, giggity giggity. I'm sorry, I'm a horrible person.
But I'm learning. I mean, I'm learning still. And I'm having fun. I'm learning how to use the Hero Labs, and
as long as you're having
all
fun.
about the different spells, all those things. I'm loving it so far. I mean, I feel, but I'm one of those people that really do want my team to be successful, because I win if my team is winning. You see, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, but when you're playing a draw game, you win when your team is gone and you have everything. I will be right back. I need to go get something to drink.
Man, I love. And if you like that character avatar right there, that can be yours. That's one of Hungar's t-shirts that he has available on his website. I'm not sorry. That makes me laugh. Oh my God.
But one of the other things that I wanted to talk about real quick about the movie was the fact that one of the other things that made me laugh that I didn't realize and I didn't remember from before was the part where they're swimming, and they have to swim through all that water, and then they end up in the frozen area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and they get going up that little thing, and you see her shaking, and her teeth are chattering and stuff, and she's freezing cold, and her hair's wet, and her clothes are wet, and she's hardly wearing anything anyways, right? And then they get in there, and they strip their clothes off, so you get to see her naked, and then they put the skins on, and they're all like getting warmed up for maybe what, and they're still barefooted, okay, on ice. And then the robot comes in and stuff, talks to him for a couple of minutes, and then they put their wet clothes back on. So, that whole, I don't know, I just thought that was just far-fetched, that they didn't catch pneumonia or weren't half frozen to death, or the lips weren't blue, or, just some of that. So that was one of the scenes that I had the most problem with being totally unrealistic. So what was the one scene that you felt was more than you could like absorb or whatever, if you could put it in there? Which one would it be?
When they're flying up into the ceiling all happily getting blasted.
Oh, the carousel people.
Yeah, and the people are just partying. It's like,
because the whole concept with that is if you're flying up there and you don't get zapped, then that means you get to keep living, right? You get to be renewed, but nobody ever gets renewed night after night, and people are still cheering, renew. That was kind of funny in itself, if you think about it.
Montana Horseman says that nude scene was really scandalous for a movie in '76. Yeah, that was. And I can tell you I've watched this movie about 7 times. I didn't realize it had a nude scene in it because I watched an edited version that I taped on VHS, and then I cut it to DVD and brought it down here, but then I got rid of it because I tried watching it on one of them newfangled TVs that's really got the sharp resolution. Because I used to just have like a console television, like the pre-480p televisions, okay? And the CRT televisions. And this I don't remember the nude scene. Jenny Agutter was beautiful back in '86 when I first saw this movie. And I I would have paid more attention if there was a nude scene. I'm just saying.
Well, you got to see full, her whole front of her chest and everything, and her butt while she was stripping for that one part in the ice chamber before they were
And
going to eat
all
frozen
real grown
popsicles.
men know that it's the butt that matters.
And the part where they leap off into the water and they're both naked in the water once they found water again, once they were outside. So she was,
Yeah,
and
butts lives matter, like Kronos says.
yeah, she was pretty much naked when he dialed her in on her little whatever you want to call it, that little teleporter.
Yeah,
Teleporter.
Yeah, it was like a
dollar
something.
thought.
Yeah, it was like a, I don't know, turntable with snacks on it. You just kind of like flip it around until the right snack came by and you just take it off the shelf.
Now,
So,
I don't know if I could get down. Yeah, I'm never mind. How you
he
doing?
wasn't interested in the first selection that popped in.
Well, his name was Tommy.
Nope.
No offense to Tommy of the Guinea Pig Collective, but
Yeah, but I thought I thought it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
Talk about swiping right, or whatever. What is it?
Something just popped in my head. You like the movie Jeremiah Johnson? Did you like the movie Paint Your Wagon?
Clint Eastwood?
Yeah, the musical.
I celebrate everything that he was in.
Because my mom, I remember when my mom, I don't know why she brought that movie out. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Paint Your Wagon.
Yeah, there was a scene in it. We were talking about something. I think it was the scene with the Mormons in it when, and my mom was saying something about the Mormons and that their wives used to breastfeed each other's babies or something like that, and we were all arguing about it, and she pulled that movie out. I think it was a VHS or whatever, and put it on and wanted us to see that, and we're like, Mom, this isn't a movie, this isn't factual. We got a huge argument over that whole thing, but it was a good movie.
Marvin was in that also.
Yeah,
Dirty
Lee
Dozen.
Marvin,
Yeah,
because he was a partner. He was partner's a partner or whatever. And he's the one that came in drunk, and he said that he was telling Clint Eastwood that he saw a baby with a woman pressed against its breast or something like that because he was drunk. And then he said whatever amount of money that is the top bid right now, I double it. And then he passed out and he ended up buying the woman. So I just thought the whole concept was a really good movie too. That was a really good movie for anyone who hasn't seen it. If you like musicals.
I like musicals. So
and it's got macho men in it too, and they're all singing.
Yeah, so like the old 1967 movie Camelot. Tis I. I mean, me and my mom used to watch that all the time. It's like I love Clint Eastwood. I love all of his works. The Outlaw Josie Wells is like one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, my mom liked Clint Eastwood. I mean, there was another actor. I'm trying to remember what his name was that my mom liked. He was in, I don't remember the name of the movies, but it was a revenge movie where his wife and daughter were attacked, and his wife was murdered, and his daughter was raped and barely survived or whatever. And then he ends up getting revenge against the gang that killed his wife and attacked his daughter, and I cannot remember the name of the actor. But this actor, my mom really liked him too.
Charles Bronson?
Yeah, I think that's his name. What was the name of that movie? Do you remember?
You're talking about the Death Wish series?
Death Wish, yes, that's it. My mom really liked that actor too.
Charlie Bronson.
I'm a big fan of Charlie Bronson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was Boy, she loved movies. My mom watched movies all the time.
Death Wish. Running around with that big freaking hand cannon.
Part 3 was my favorite.
Which one?
Part 3.
What was the going on in that
Well,
movie?
the very beginning of Death Wish 3, his old war buddy brings him to New York City. And so Charlie Bronson goes to New York City, meets his friend, and they talk for a little bit. And then his friend's apartment is attacked. And he doesn't even meet his friend while he's alive. He meets his friend shortly after his friend is attacked in his apartment viciously, stabbed in the stomach and filleted. And then the bad guys leave after they take some things. And so
Mhm.
Charlie Bronson gets in there right as his buddy's about to expire. He's like, Creasy, oh, my old army buddy, take care of my things while I'm away. And then he dies. And the rest of the movie, Charlie Bronson is murdering neighborhood punks that are straight out of bad comic books. And I love bad comic books.
Charles
So-
Bronson, catalog of fish are generally good. Kronos, yes. I think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes, it is. Yeah, don't see the Bruce Willis Death Wish movie. It's bad. You're better off just to rewatch The Equalizer with Denzel Washington.
I love Denzel.
So do I. And that's a really good pair of movies. So the Death Wish 3 movie is just a bunch of really good set piece action pieces that Canon Films made, which they usually never stand up well. That movie actually stands up really well. And you get to see a early Counselor Deanna Troi. And there's a later event at a Star Trek convention where she has a mental breakdown on stage explaining how she was in dirty, dirty movies and she could never get a break. And then finally, here's Star Trek The Next Generation, and it made her a character that wholesome families could know.
She was in porn?
No, but she showed her boobs off in Death Wish 3. The entire time, she's not liking the way this movie's being filmed. She's cold. She wants a blanket. And the director's like, no, we got to film your boobs. And they filmed her boobs. She's getting raped on a dirty mattress somewhere in the ghetto. And that was what she was best known for until The Next Generation comes out. Shut up, Wesley.
I don't guess I've ever seen whatever that was.
Death Wish 3? Oh, it's on our catalog for March.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, she was naked in lots of Canon movies. Yeah, Canon Films used her a lot. Hungar,
Yes.
when you watch Logan's Run, what thoughts come to your head when you're watching this movie today, 2022?
I'm wondering how much longer it's going to take for society to actually start this crap.
I'm really hoping we don't start. We've already got down the path towards it, but I
Yeah.
really would like a nice reversal. Like the 1970s was okay. Could we go back to the 70s?
I'm down with going back to the 80s. The 80s were a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, I'm one of those guys that I grew up typing in on a keyboard, load, quotations, asterisk, quotations, comma 8, comma 1, because I had a Commodore. I get it. The 80s were fun. But I don't think I don't think a lot of people want to join me in that quest. I think a lot of people like the comforts they have now, and the things that we have now are just going to be more and more and more accessible. Like years ago, trying to talk to a woman or trying to get nudes of a woman, couldn't do it. You were SOL if you were in the middle of Iowa or Illinois, and you wanted to meet new girls. There was no website to tell you you were 3 miles away from meeting new girls that wanted to fuck you. Now we have Logan's Run, which gives us an option for virtual chatterbait or complete chatterbait. You know, you get to have the rotation, and somebody pops in your living room, and maybe you pork them, maybe you decide not to. And I think a lot of society wants to do that. They want to go and rent everything. And worse yet, you have the society we have telling us it is 2030.
You pretty much have that now, where you can just drive down Main Street and take your pick of girls that are standing on the street or guys.
If you so choose. But I'm just saying, like, even not, you don't even have to meet anybody. If you just want to just like have a weird kink fetish thing, you type it in your fucking pocket-sized supercomputer, and bam, 15 seconds later, something from Japan or Germany dungeon porn is in front of you. You're like, oh wow, this is really good. And you're just like, you didn't have these options even 20 years ago. You had to go physically visit other countries to see really disgusting porn. Now you just get on your phone.
Yeah, now you just get on your phone. Now you get on, what is it, Tinder or whatever, and you swipe until you match somebody. And it's like, I mean, me personally, I've never had an issue picking up chicks.
No.
And that's the same thing with at OnlyFans. I mean, I get people ask me all the time if I'm going to start one. I'm like, no. There's plenty of it already. I mean, you can get on Twitter right now and you can see just about anything you want, or YouTube.
Well, I was just saying that, Janet, you should
do it.
If you start at OnlyFans, Janet, I will be your first subscriber.
Well, I'm not going to.
I know you're not, but if you do
because
decide,
there's plenty. I mean, there's an
decide,
overabundance already in that stuff, and
there's
that-
not an overabundance of you, though.
not enough wholesome women on OnlyFans. They're just a bunch of sluts that are like,
well, that's why I'm not going to be on it. I do have a few standards. I mean, I'm not perfect or anything, but I just, and I feel sorry for all those people that feel like that's their only option to do something,
I have an OnlyFans.
You do? And what do you do? Cook? Hunt?
Foot pics.
Feet?
Foot pictures, yeah.
Oh, well.
From my surgery when I had to get one of my toes whacked off. There's a lot of weird people out there.
Well, I'm still not going to do that. I've had people ask me to put my feet on there too, and I'm not going to. I mean, I've taken a couple pictures to make fun of people that want to see my feet. I took a couple pictures of my feet, and I took dry spaghetti and I put it between my toes. And I took a picture and put it on there as a joke, because it was funny. But, I'll do it for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I like to.
And people, there's a lot of weird people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like things that you see on Twitter now, you used to have to pay money for, like actual money, not like $5 a month for a subscription. No, you used to have to pay $15 for a photo of a girl with decent side boob. or you have to go buy a magazine. And I'm just saying that the more our society degrades, the more crappy stuff, the bad stuff becomes completely accessible until we are no longer a functioning society.
Yeah. Too much is accessible nowadays, in my opinion. That's what was going on in Logan's Run. Anything you wanted, it was there. We're going down that path now because, like Bruce was just saying, when I was growing up, the thought of, opening up my phone and seeing naked pictures from random girls that I did not even know, just sending me random pictures. One, I never thought I'd be carrying a pocket computer. Two, naked pictures of girls on my phone all the time that I'm not asking for. Yeah, do I hate it? No, I'm a dude and I like naked girls. But it's just too easy nowadays. People don't have to work for what they want.
That's why it's going to be harder and harder to find people that have a relationship that lasts more than 2 or 3 years, because nobody has to work for anything. Nothing's worth working for, And I'll be one of those people that ends up sitting on my front porch and dying by myself because I'm not going to settle for something that I don't feel like I deserve. So, and people say, you're stuck up. You think you're better than everybody. That's not it. I just feel like I'm worth it.
Yeah, you're worth it.
And the thing
Don't
is,
settle. If you can't have home guard.
I wish more people would feel that way about themselves, and it makes me sad when men and women don't put value on themselves, and they don't think that they're worth someone else's attention or whatever, and they'll just settle for whatever they can get. And I just think that's sad. And that's why so many people get ripped off. I get at least, I'd say 10 scammers a week on my 3 different platforms. They'll say, hey, gorgeous, or whatever. And I'm like, hello. And they'll say, well, say certain things. And I'm like, so you like girls with cartoon eyes and glasses? Because on YouTube, I have done more things now with, not wearing my cartoon glasses and eyes when I make my videos or whatever, like when I'm reading my stories and things like that. But on TikTok, almost all my videos are like that. And they'll say that, and they'll say, what do you mean? And then they'll see it and they'll say, oh, I see now. Why do you use the filter? Whatever. And I'm like, that's my character or whatever. And it's just funny because they use the same lines over and over with, who knows how many hundreds of people a week. Yeah. And it's all to try to get real pictures from you, because if you send them a real photo of yourself, they're going to use it on the next profile they make. And that's why it's hard to look the pictures up and find anything on like TinEye or these other facial recognition software to find out who they are. And many times when they're in a hurry, they use a stock photo, whatever, but you can find it online and you know that it's not the real person. So it's just sad because so many people are out there just trying to get information or money. And then I hear of so many different people getting ripped off on Twitter. Just Twitter is one of them, where they'll supposedly have a conversation with them, and the next thing you know, 2 months later, they send them $1,500. I'm like, who sends money
in that
to a total stranger online? I don't know how anybody falls for it, a man or a woman. I don't care what sob story they would have. I mean, I had one guy was telling me, hey, where are you from? And I go, well, where are you from? And he goes, oh, I live in California and so and so. And I said, oh, really? I live right down the road from you. What? And then I look up, real quickly on Google and say, hey, he's telling me he wants to go out and meet me out to dinner or whatever. And I said, let's meet tonight at this restaurant. And I looked it up and he goes, hey, can you send me your PayPal information? So I need $50 so I have gas to come see you. I'm like, what are you? What kind of idiot are you? And then I make a video using their messages and I post it on my TikTok to say, run as fast as you can from these people, because if they ask you for money and shit or photos and stuff like that, they're going to use it to rip you off. So don't believe these people. I don't give my phone number out or any of that stuff because it's just not safe. No. Because with your phone number, they can find out who you really are. They can find. I've had death threats right here on YouTube. I've had people say you need to go to another planet, commit suicide. If I know where you live, I live down the road from you. When I was, and I'm going to find you, and you're not going to wake up in the morning. It's just horrible stuff. And I don't do anything. I show cleavage. But that's it. But I know girls on here that show way more than cleavage. I don't know what kind of horrible stuff they get sent or told.
I'm just waiting for somebody to break into my house. It's like, this is a robbery. I'm like, no shit.
I do carry. I have concealed carry. I have advanced concealed carry. I mean, I took the classes and everything, and I'm careful about it. But the thing is, it's a scary thought to think that there's people like that out there that want to hurt someone or scare the person enough to make them think they're going to hurt you. And that's that, that's just sad that that's where we are in society. And that's another reason why I don't think a utopian society would ever work, because I don't care what utopian society you're in, they're going to have those kind of people in them. And you're
Janet,
still going to have crime, because you're going to have children, you're going to have loved ones that you want to protect. And all it's going to take is one of those people trying to hurt somebody you care about. And that's when the chaos starts. And when you have a government that runs it and says, well, you can't defend your family because we don't want you to have the right to defend your family, then what do? You're stuck in a fake utopian environment that doesn't really exist. And, that's the scary fact.
So anyways, Jeremy, she does not live in California. She's been there a lot. She does not live in California.
And Janet, you should not have to settle.
I won't.
All you got to do is say, "Hey, Hungar," and I'll be like, "What's up,
well,
man?"
the thing is that I wish more people would not settle.
I don't.
That would say, that look in the mirror and say, I'm worth better. I'm worth being treated with respect. I'm worth being told I'm worth something.
I'm too pretty for all
I wish
that.
everybody would do that.
I'm just too damn. I'm a sexy beast.
With their jobs and everything. I mean, if you have pride in yourself, it comes across to other people. When you have pride in your work, things that you make, or your job that you do. And it's just sad when I see people that hate their job, they hate their life, they hate themselves. And, and that's what I have lots of people that I talk to on my Discord and on Twitter and stuff. And I'm constantly trying to encourage them, don't settle, start exercising, start working a little harder to better yourself so that you can apply for that other job that you want. Because once you can get, out of that job, that dead end job, and you get a job where you actually have a chance to advance, your life is going to change, because you're going to be happier each day when you get up to go to a job that you want, little things like that. And I try to encourage people, because why not? Why not try to enjoy your life? Why not? We don't live forever. If you got 20 or 30 good years left, try to get every single ounce of fun and memories out of each day, because when you die, that's it. That's all you got is what what you've put into it. You don't get to keep your house and your jewels and your money. I mean, someone else is going to reap the reward of your hard work once you're gone, but you get to take your memories with you wherever it is that we get to go. And hopefully I'll leave some good memories in the people I leave behind of me, so that every time they think of me, they'll smile and say, oh, that was fun. I'm glad we got to do that. Or, and you live on through them, because they remember the fun times you had together. And that's how I try to live my life. I try to remember every day the best I can. And it's not always easy, because we have shitty days. You get pissed off. Some guy cuts you off, or some possums got in your garbage and now there's trash everywhere and it took you 3 hours to clean it all up. I mean, I'm just saying, stuff happens and we have to deal with it. And it's not always perfect. Or you fell down and hurt your knee, or, whatever it is. You just have to just do the best you can and try to get past it. And know that you're not the only person in that situation, that other people are going through the same thing. And at least me, I know I have, family that loves me and would miss me if something did happen to me. So I'm lucky in that aspect, because there's lots of people out there I feel don't have anyone.
Yeah. On that note, I'm
or
going
they
back.
feel they have no one.
I'm going back to bed, guys.
You don't have to do that, Hungar, but I appreciate you stopping in and giving us some chat time.
Yeah. Sorry I missed the whole show.
Well, thanks for giving us a good movie to watch. It was fun. We enjoyed it.
And it was awesome to finally talk to you, Janet.
Well, thank you. It was nice talking to you. And I really, really am glad that you did recommend this movie last week.
Awesome.
Because I'd forgotten so much of it. I couldn't believe it. As I was the first thing I was telling Bruce when we first started was I was really surprised when I saw Farrah Fawcett's name pop up in the credits at the beginning. I was like, she's in this movie? I mean, I was just really surprised at how much I missed, that I didn't remember.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I got to watch it because it did make me think of a lot of things, and I really enjoyed little things about the movie that I'd forgotten, and I'm glad I got to watch it again.
Well, I'm
thank
so
you.
glad you liked it. I will see you guys later. Have a
Thank you so
wonderful
much,
night.
Joe.
God bless you guys. You're awesome.
Bless you, and have a wonderful night yourself.
Yes,
Take care,
ma'am.
my friend.
Later, Bruce. Can't wait to. I did change the picture of my afro, so you will have a limited edition afro picture, dude, on your shirt.
Oh my! Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Good night, guys.
Good
Nice,
night.
All right. Well, Janet, there's a question popped up in the chat wanting to know what are you going to select for our next movie to talk about?
I was thinking about that earlier because there was a couple of movies that I was interested in, but hold on for a second. Let me I'm going to look at something really quick.
Okay. Home Alone, the portrait of a
I'm going to
serial
make sure I
killer.
still have it.
Okay. Chronos, typically the Sunday before a movie show. Like yesterday, I streamed a movie in Discord, and it's a lot of fun. I'll be putting times up there for people in that channel for Guy, Girl, and Movie. I'll use my Discord for that. Logan is Basil Faulty from Austin Powers says, Soy Base Jeremy. Basil Faulty was amazing in Faulty Towers. Okay. We have Maverick.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of worried that you'd get mad at me for bringing up another Western.
Why would I be upset with you for bringing up another Western? How dare
I don't
you?
know. Because of Cowboy Way wasn't very good, and Bad Girls wasn't very good. But this is another one I really love because my mom loved James Garner, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this one. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure I have the DVD because sometimes it gets so hard for me to be able to find a way to watch it unless you provide it for me.
Fair enough. I'll be streaming that in the Discord server on Sunday. And let me get my Discord server out there. Hold on. For my Discord server, I'm not saying it's a place where you can pirate fun movies or see pictures of scantily clad ladies or interact with people that are struggling through a campaign that will probably kill their player characters off.
Mm-hmm.
My Discord server is right there. If you wish to interact more often with Janet, and she is in my server from time to time, but if you wish to interact with Janet on a more frequent basis, get super secret information from Janet as to what she's going to be streaming next, what she's going to talk about, and just
I post all that in my Discord.
Yep, and Janet's Discord. Right there. So,
Yay.
looks like next week we will be talking about Maverick, the one with Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm. Jodie Foster.
Yeah, that's a good movie, and I like Jodie Foster. The Fat Gamer has an interesting. He has an interesting suggestion. McHale's Navy. Look for that in 2023, my friend. They
Yeah,
are.
you need to have you need to set something up in your Discord that people can leave information about movies they're interested in watching.
Okay.
I think that would be a really good thing because I have a thing on my Discord. It's for this show
Mhm.
on mine, and I post all the links for the show. And sometimes people will make comments about different movies we might want to watch.
Fair enough. James Garner was a ladies' man up until his dying day. I feel he was just a very he was a actual good gentleman in Tinseltown, which I'm not a big fan of Hollywood, but he was a legend. I'll say that much.
Yeah, my mom really liked him.
There was a bad movie he was in called Tank, and even that was good.
I don't think I've seen that one.
He in the movie Tank, his son gets arrested for having marijuana in his gym locker, and so they take him from school, and this guy is already a little bit unhinged, and so he takes this World War II Sherman tank at war with the town, and the town doorknob rides with him in the tank, and she's a cute little number.
What's a doorknob?
She's kind of like the town sweetheart, but everybody's had a turn.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's heartbreaking.
yeah. Well, it happens, but it's not a great movie. It's probably the worst in his entire career, I feel, but it wastes him a little bit. His talent is wasted a little bit, but it's still a good movie, and he gets his kid back, and we'll have to watch it. It's as predictable as a Columbo TV show, but it's fun. There's the difference between movies that are like Dune or The Godfather, and then you have a lower tier where you have movies like what I nominate on a regular basis here for, like we're gonna watch The Professional, or we're gonna watch the Raid, or we're gonna watch.
Yeah, well, see, the other movie that I was thinking about too was another really good movie, and it's a Western too. It's Quigley Done Under.
That's a great movie, and
Yeah,
that's an amazing.
There's just so many good movies. It's just really hard. It's really hard to settle on one, and that's why I'm glad. I'm around a long time so we can watch lots of movies. Because I love watching movies and I love talking about movies, as you can tell.
I already have my selection set up. I'm just going to say that you picked Maverick. I'm picking Die Hard in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, for a Christmas movie.
That is our Christmas. That's the Christmas movie.
That's great. I mean, I am 100% agree with you. It is the Christmas movie. Now, the only other movie that I like better for watching on Christmas is the one with Bill Murray.
Scrooged?
Yes, Scrooged. Okay. I love Scrooged.
Scrooged is great.
That's a Christmas movie too.
See, Scrooged is great. I love Die Hard. I enjoy the first Gremlins movie. I'll watch it. It's not my favorite. Part 2, though, Gremlins Part 2, that's almost like Godfather Part 3 tier good movie. And Godfather Part 3 is not that great when you compare it to Part 1 and Part 2. Part 3 is like good. It's not great. Gremlins Part 2 is in Godfather 3 territory. It's really punching above its weight. I love that movie. That's such a stupidly fun movie. But yeah. And I don't even think Gremlins 2 is a Christmas movie. I think it's just a movie that they have in the same town with the same problems. It's fun. But okay, next week we're going to Don't Punch Below the Belt, says Kronos. Next week we're going to watch this movie called Maverick with Mel Gibson and fan favorite
Jodie
James Garner.
Foster. And Jodie Foster.
Can't. Did you ever watch Taxi Driver when you were?
I never saw it.
You've never seen it?
Nope.
Okay.
My mom said it. She didn't think it was a good movie, so I just never.
Your mom and my mom sound a lot alike. I'm just going to say that my mom, she would look at a movie, she's like, "That's smut. We don't watch smut."
And plus, my mother didn't really like a lot of movies that had a lot of blood in it or a lot of violence and things. So if it had the right actor in it, she would put up with some violence. But that's why I had to sneak around and watch all my vampire movies and things, because my mom did not like any of that. She didn't like anything with the vampires and demons and things like that in it. So, but I loved vampire movies, so I would sneak around and watch as much as I could.
That's kind of funny, actually. Okay. So anyway, chat, if you have anything to say before we wrap up the stream, please get it in the chat now. I've given you guys links for Hungar's t-shirts, for our Discord links. I would say that if you would like to follow Janet more, please go to her Discord. And she has a very good host of rabid fans, which are pretty entertaining people as well. I recommend that everybody have yourself a pleasant evening. And Janet, I will let you say the last of tonight's material.
Thank you for joining us. It was a really good, interesting movie, and I enjoyed watching it. I forgot how much I liked it. I liked watching it the first few times I got to see it, and it brought back some really good memories for me. And I recommend if you like sci-fi and a good story with a little bit of grit in it. It's something to dig your teeth into. I think you'd like it also. But yeah, and I can't wait till next week because I'm excited about getting to watch another Western. It's
Sounds
almost
like
like getting to have my mom sitting down next to me getting to watch it. So, but yeah, it was a good movie and I enjoyed it. And thank you for suggesting that we get to watch this movie. And it was good. And I hope you have a good night's sleep tonight.
Everybody, take care of yourself. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We'll see you again next Monday night and talk about Maverick. Until then.